Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It is Friday evening. That means it's time for the Slambo GT list review. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Weirdcast. We're a couple guys from Austin, and I think we can get into the agenda. Let's go ahead and just hop into it. If y'all
Are you muting us?
I don't know.
Actually, I definitely
Oh,
heard
I hear
audio
us.
when I was
Oh.
listening to it. I had to turn the volume off.
There's no audio, there's no mics on that screen. So you just need to copy the Discord source.
Okay.
Or actually, Lexi, if you could just throw that scene or that source for the browser thing, the window capture in this screen, we can just use that. Well, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead. We'll get some introductions in. Eli, you're top left.
What's
Why don't you
up,
go ahead and start?
everybody? How's it going? I'm Eli, obviously. I am the man with the sexy blue hair, and I'm here to tell you all about lists.
All right, Joe.
Hey guys. Hey guys, how are y'all doing tonight? I'm joined with Kat Jasper. He's here to hang out with us for a little bit, maybe an hour. I don't know. But yeah, no, let's do it.
Thanks for bearing with us as we go through this fun turmoil of audio. Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm over here down in looks like bottom left, which probably would be that way because I think everything's backwards on here. Yes. Okay, cool. Everything is in fact backwards on here. Great. All right. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm here to help with the list review. I was playing Soul Blight a couple shows ago during the pre-show test show.
Yep, and that's right, Azri. Matt is wearing his Metallica shirt. He's already hit 3-0. Easy peasy. Yeah, and I'm Spencer. I am the most bearded weird knob right now. I will say most hairy, maybe. We'll go with that. Thanks for sticking with us as we're working out some audio kinks. I do believe we've got our Grot in the chair, Lexi on it. Hey, there we go, Lexi. That's perfect. And we can use this until we get it together. If you can make it just a little bit larger and cut in on the 4 video screens that we have. Actually, you can cut us off. That's perfect. Cool. So, like I said, we're just had our little host introduction. We're going to talk about some stats and facts. We're going to get into all of the lists, and then we are going to do a little wrap-up show. So, we have a little thing at the end that I'm excited to share with y'all. So, let's talk about some stats and facts. It's okay. All right. So, yep. If you'll scroll down to the pie charts, because everyone likes pie. Matt, I think you just made a pie this week. Is that right?
I successfully purchased one from HEB.
Oh, crazy. I do want to thank you for your contribution to the nut tier list that we talked about in the last stream. Pecan is still not the top one. That's just what it is. Lexi, if we could scroll down to the pie chart. Awesome. Cool. So thanks to Chris Creech and Ben Riddle, both from the Crown Base Heroes, for helping compile some stats for our first stream tonight, as well as just kind of great information to have. So overall, we have Gits with 11% of representation, the smallest army making the biggest impact. As well as you can see Death is the least represented alliance, but that's going to be okay. They're going to collect their bones anyway. Let's get into some fun facts. All right. So this is probably the top two are my favorite fun facts. The number of lists with 2,000 points and a triumph listed, which they will never get. 14 out of the 19 lists. It's a great job, guys. Great job.
I didn't list my triumph because, why?
It's okay. You just wanted to play.
Technically supposed to.
I mean, I can't get it.
Neither can I. Still put it on there.
Like
You
even
don't-
anytime I'm playing Doc or Vampires, I list Bloodthirsty just because I know I can't get it. It doesn't matter what it is, but they're bloodthirsty all the same.
Chomby, not 19 lists total. These are 19 lists that are 2,000 points on the dot.
Yes, including two of us here.
Not going to fault people for proper list building. It's an optional thing. That is an optional enhancement to take.
See?
Yes, I don't properly
And you
list
take
those.
advantage of every enhancement. Put it in the list.
Cool. So let's hop down to the next one. My real favorite one is the number of players with Slaughter of Sorcery, which is have no wizards on the battlefield at the end of the battle, with a wizard in their list. It's 2.
Sometimes it's a lizard.
Sometimes it is a lizard, but in this case it's not. One of them's on stream right now. Joe, why don't you say hi?
Yeah, so I did that. I'm not afraid.
And we'll talk about the other one a little bit later, but I'm pretty excited. I think we skipped to the shit list inadvertently.
Yep.
Did we?
Kind of showing
Yes.
our hand.
Right?
If we could go back to the fun facts, we still got more
Okay.
fun facts.
Here's
We
your
got
preview.
45 annihilators throughout all the lists, and almost half are from one list. Thank you, Chris, who's in chat with us tonight. Thank you for your contribution to our annihilator stats.
Mhm. Those are good stats. Underrepresented the entire edition.
That's right, Joe. They are underrepresented.
Stormcast propaganda.
Yeah. Something that's neat. So this GT is going to be in San Antonio, Texas. The fun part about this is there are more Houston players in attendance than San Antonio players. By 2, but still, it's a fun little fact. Hey, we got Bill and Chris watching while they're having a battle. They're getting in their last little bit of training before the GT next week.
Yes, Sinto, don't kill my wizard.
Yeah, another one that we have is more True Blades than zombies.
Okay, that's a sad stat.
No,
Okay.
that's a great stat.
No, that is a sad fucking stat.
It's a wonderful stat. True Blades are great.
They are, but they're not as good as zombies.
I didn't say they were as good as zombies. They're just great.
So we've got 32 True Blades and 0 zombies. It's wild.
I just wish True Blades were Battle Line and Castellai. I would have a box of those very
Only.
quickly. Or find some to 3D print. One of the two.
Cool. And then we've got 75% of the Slanesh players are from San Antonio. I think that's a bit excessive.
Right?
Sons of Slambo do like their S's.
And the last one there, 17 players with an Acolytes battalion. Ben wanted to know that stat, and he wanted to know what the percent chance of him playing a player with an Acolytes battalion. So there you go, Ben. This one's for you.
Mhm.
I think we can get into Salty Joe's shit list now.
Now we can get into Salty Joe's shit list.
Yep.
I
Yes.
brought him out of the mine to share with us his pure premium salt crystals.
You're right. Okay, I'm here to deliver content.
So who's first on your salty shit list?
Grot in the
Or is it not
chair.
in there?
Could we scroll down?
I think there's a shift in the grot right now.
No. There's been a mutiny in the Grot room.
Yeah.
The man in the chair has returned home, and the woman in the chair are currently battling.
Matt, why don't you tell us what's behind your head?
So my Evian Kickstarter came in Wednesday. So I've got a whole pile of boxes for a 1v1 or 2v2 dueling card game. Basically miniatures, cards. It's a lot of fun. We played a bunch of it when it first came out, and then there was a Kickstarter for season 2, and there was a bit of a dearth of new content coming. We're all excited for the new stuff, and we're like, all right, we'll put it on the back burner. And now the Kickstarter actually got here, so we're hoping to get another game or two of that in at some point. And I'll be slowly building, sleeving cards and moving these stuff around into little, actually decent like trays for bringing a kind of like a card box and miniature holder combo. Not a bad setup.
Not a sponsor, we're just big fans of the game.
All right.
I feel like I gotta put that in there.
Look, if
Thank
they'll
you.
sponsor us, I'll take a Kickstarter for season 3. Like, I'm shameless. Whatever.
Right?
All right.
By Avian, you heard it here first.
Salty Joe.
Okay.
What do you got on
Start
there
us off.
for us?
So the shit list is kind of small this event. I don't know if it's fatigue for the edition, but very tame lists. But that hasn't stopped some people from showing up in force, okay? Now, I got overruled on this. I personally didn't want to see Shelling and myself on the list. We have done nothing wrong. This is go ahead, Eli.
Sigmar propaganda. I'm pretty sure everyone disagrees.
Well, everyone is bad at the game. So
How's that Vault Wars record?
right? Okay, look. You tie twice in one event, okay? So
True.
we got Shelling here. He's bringing 21 Annihilators. I personally think that's the tamest thing in this list. 5 Night Vexillars are beautiful and so engaging to play with. And keep your 5 wound hero
and
safe.
You're telling me all those Annihilators that can start in the sky and drop 9 inches away from your army is engaging?
Oh, yes. It's on a 4-up, all right? And if I can't make a 7-inch charge, you know he ain't making 9-inch charges, all right? That's just
man.
I
I have a feeling
going out
Sheldon
like
was
that.
a little better than you did.
Yes. He also plays better than me and looks better than me. He really is just me, but better. So I'm on the shit list because
And you deserve
I
it.
brought Judicators, and I'm the bad guy because the list I wanted to play went down over 260 points since the release of the book. I don't get it.
And what's the range on the bows on the Night Judicators?
30 inches.
How
Yeah.
long is the table from player to player?
44.
Are you sure?
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you need line of sight for your Judicator mortal wounds?
I need to be able to draw a line of sight to a point on the map.
Okay, so not a unit. So
No.
it gets around Wildwoods. That's
Yes.
cool.
I can see through the trees, all right? I can't see you, but I can see the spot directly to your left
Tree man.
with crystal clarity.
Hey, I'm
very
just going to throw this one out here, but Kurnoth Hunters with Bows also have 30-inch range and can see through Wildwoods for the same rate for being Sylvaneth. And no one's complained about those.
Matt, do they roll a 4-up to do D3 mortal wounds?
Two
At a
up.
You
point
roll
on
a
the
4
board?
to hit you.
Kurnoth bows are so good at being screens. All right.
Really there for.
Right. Okay, we got Bear on the list because 8 more guests. What are you doing? We're at the end of the edition. Your time to shine was months ago. 5-0s right now don't count.
And engaging.
Right? My man was like 5 red, sign me up.
How do you play
Dylan,
Unga Bunga in death? 8 more
What?
guests.
right? Dylan, being half the man of Bear, was like, I'll take half the more guests.
Look, he couldn't be twice the man he is right now. I understand it's a physical limitation. It's hard when your only place that your head reaches everybody else's waist, but
Okay, so the next spot is special to me, okay? I put Brian Faber here, not because I'm particularly mad at him, but because I couldn't fit all 3 broad stomps on the list. They told me I couldn't. So, yes, I went with the low-hanging fruit, but it's evergreen.
you could have
Fuck
just
targets.
said Broad. You could have just put King Broad on the shit list.
Broad's done nothing wrong. It's the players. They're the one
Are
that
you
are
sure?
like putting. Yes, Broad's fine. He's perfect. And to finish off the shit list, we have Isaac. The man was like, Bundo?
How do I play
Marathi?
Doc with as few Doc models as possible?
Right?
By
He's
God, I
like,
think he's done it.
I want to do battle tactics, and that's it. And that's just not fun to play against. Gargants are lame, and they're really lame with Marathi.
Turns out 420 point Bundo Whalebiter is really, really good.
Horribly undercosted.
All right, let's get into some more stats. Grot in the chair, could we get a little advancement on our information? So this is the most recent stats update that came out just now, actually, this evening, right before we went live, from Wohammer. So thank you, Wohammer. What you're going to see here is Caradron Overlords at 63% win rate. A lot of this is going to be from the Army of Renown, which has since been politely neutered.
It's been kicked in the can
Politely neutered.
across the battlefield.
I don't agree with this decision, but I don't work at UW.
Poof.
Big Wah, 57% over the 55 threshold. I think the addition of the new battle tactics, along with the points changes and new war scrolls from Iron Jaws, really helped out.
No, agreed. Like, you take a bunch of solid war scrolls, give them a really good caster, and give that caster a bunch of free unbinds that do mortal wounds. Yeah.
And then give the Army 5 tactics it can complete pretty regularly without having to do things to the opponent.
Let's be
Mhm.
honest. The biggest thing in Iron Jaws has never been what are my war scrolls. It has been what does this war scroll look like when you give it +1 damage.
Yes. For Iron Jaws specifically, yeah.
Yes.
A couple of newcomers to the top of the list as of recently, Idna Thiepkin and Magickin of Nurgle. So if we go down to the bottom, there's a sub-faction list. The Fouling Host sitting at 62%, and Fuethon at
So Shark.
61%.
Got it. So Shark's Fliptide.
Yep.
Yeah. So some really big stats. So if y'all are going to be attending Slambo, keep this in mind. If you're like, hey, that Fangs of Sotek list looks kind of soft, you might be mistaken.
Yep.
All right. Grot in the chair, could we switch over to the fancy list view and start getting into this?
And perpetually just low enough that nobody bothers to nerf them. Blades of Corn.
Genius.
Like they said Murderless costs 3 blood type now to get max value. Oh, good enough. Good enough.
Right, we're getting swapped over. Cool. So here we go. We're going to start off. The way we're going to do this is a little bit different. Instead of having each sheet be its own list, we have divided this into sub-factions. So it's going to be a little bit easier factions. So it's going to be a little bit easier to kind of go through all at once, a little bit easier to hopefully read and talk about, and a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into it. So Eli and Matt, y'all are Chaos Incarnate right now.
Chaos Incarnate.
Why don't you run
Matt
through these
doesn't
lists for
play
us?
any Chaos Gods.
No, I don't. I'm pretty sure he means Eli and Joe.
Who cares?
All right.
I'm going to start you off by talking about Khorne. Blades of Khorne, who we just said got a very soft nerf and is riding right on the coattails of not getting nerfed. We got 4 Khorne lists, each of them bringing a different subfaction. You love to see that. Nice variety here. Somewhere split between demons and mortals, if I can find the right picture to actually look at. Here we go. Yes, we have literally a 50% split between demon focus list and mortal focus, which is really cool. Gortide and Flayed from Brian Lofton and Jeff Visgatis, our very own Bloodthirster from here. And then Peyton Sadler and Chris Armstrong running Bloodlords and Reapers of Vengeance, respectively. Now that I'm looking at these lists proper, I am seeing only 3 out of 4 Scarbrands. No Scarbrand in Lofton's list. Brian, what you doing? Come on. You don't want to roll that dice and roll 6 and get 60 mortal wounds, man? I don't know about you, but that seems wrong. Not gonna lie. Anyway, what Khorne likes to do is kind of just be really techie. Plays the board, plays the battle tactic denial game more than the battle tactic success game, and using that sweet better than command point table in Blood Tithe in order to really screw up your game plan. It's really cool. It also just has Scarbrand. It does a bunch of mortal wounds. It has Bloodthirsters that just have a bunch of 2 to hit, 2 to wound attacks, and it just goes in and cleaves you. Or in the case of Brian's list, 20 Blood Warriors that sit on an objective and don't die. Or when they do die, they murder roll you back. 5 ups, 2 mortal wounds.
Yeah, no, that's spectacular. So, so we'll start with Chris Armstrong, Reapers of Vengeance, 2 Bloodthirsters, Slaughter Priests, Scarbrand, baby, 2 Bloodmasters, Hounds, Bloodletter, Skull Crushers, Slaughter of Sorcery, 10 drops. My man was like, I don't need priority. You're going to give me first anyway, and that's what I want to see.
Pretty much.
Right? Get Bronze fleshed up on those Skull Crushers. Who doesn't want to have a 1-up?
Every time he kills a hero, I believe he gets 2 Blood Tithe with it instead of 1. Or it's
Right?
kill a unit with the hero. Something to that effect. Cares about heroes. I know that. We're going off the old noggin hole, not looking at good old Wikipedia for reference here.
Right? I'm
second
pretty
list
sure
up.
every one of these runs Unfettered Fury.
Yes. The -1 to hit Bloodthirster, and if we were to look at the list in proper, I can almost guarantee you 100% of that
Brian's
artifact that's on there
Mhm.
is Argath. No
Yeah.
Ward Sword.
Yeah.
It's just such a good combo.
So we talked a little bit about Brian's.
Mhm.
Jeff had an entire show earlier this week about his list. He went 4-1 with it recently, so watch out for that.
Oh, that's a good point, Commander Man. Yes, 3d6 charge also pretty good.
It's fantastic.
Yes, speaking on Jeff specifically, you're right. You're right, Joe. They can watch the recap for Vault Wars where they talk about it, or they can watch our stream from last week where we got to watch him kick your butt.
Yeah, that
Same
was
list.
also a thing he did recently with that.
Let's
and then
see it
down,
in action at least,
yeah.
guys.
Down to Sadler, Unfettered Fury, Bloodmaster, Ritualist, Scarbrand baby, 20 Bloodletters, 2 blocks of Hounds, 6 Blood Crushers, Skulls, love to see them, hate to play with them, Bleeding Icon, nice, Slaughter of Sorcery, 5 drops. He might want priority. A little bit restrained.
Skull's really good. He's also got the icon for the anti-bravery, which makes sense. He's going to charge Bloodletters, get the 5-up to getting the mortal wound from 6-up to a 5-up attacks from all those sword attacks. Just level some units.
Oh yeah, no, it's so much damage. Mortal Wounds on 5s is very, very good.
Yep.
All right, so that kind of.
And you mentioned Skulls. I would like to point out that Skulls is in every single one of these lists because it's just super, super good to have something that screws magic over that's basically uninteractable by the entire game.
Oh yeah, no, Skulls are fantastic. You'll love to see them. So that kind of touches on all the corn lists. Know what to look out for, boys. Don't let them get Skulls off. Oh wait, you can't. There's no way to stop them.
Just roll the 8 on a spell that you don't care about.
Right. So let's jump down. Let's jump down to Nurgle. Not a ton of Nurgle, not like the start of 3rd edition, but there's a decent amount.
Problem of being an early book. Problem of kind of only having like one trick, which is that you have a 5-up board.
Yeah.
And
so
you kind of just have a bunch of attacks.
Yeah. So you play Nurgle. I don't. I think the faction is icky. What did you talk about?
I mean, that's kind of the idea, right? Like Grandfather Nurgle just kind of blesses you. He gives you all of these gifts. Don't mind that the gifts are a little putrid in their offering, but he blesses you and makes you feel good. You feel so you're happy to devote in return. Big thing about Nurgle is that, like I said, it has a 5-up board. It does some healing, and they all have a bunch of attacks to trigger what's called the disease mechanic, which is basically throwing literal, putrid offerings onto your opponents so that they gradually take more. And then you kind of just hold tight, whittle them down.
Oh,
now, is it fast? Not at all. Unless you're playing flies, which one of our boys here is.
Right?
Jeremy Davis. No, he's playing a different list than I expected. We'll get to that detail in a minute. So if you're playing a bunch of flies, you move really fast. If you're not playing flies, you're kind of slower unless you're moving into some other options and hoping to get onto the objectives and just hold it.
Yeah. So Harley, let's see what we got. We got Festus, Rock Coven, Aguo, Sloppity, hate that guy. 20
Close.
Plague Bearers, 10 Plague Bearers, 2 units of 5 Blight Kings, rather tame. Spellcasting Savant, 10 drops.
This kind of makes
Alright.
sense. You're going for all the extra enhancements. Filthbringers lets you take what is called the Rot Coven, which is basically just 3 Rotbringer sorcerers. And while they're next to each other, they can basically buff one of those Rotbringer sorcerers by like +3 to cast on top of the primal dice. Pretty sweet. I like the mix between the demon tech and the mortal tech. Takes advantage of that new battle tactic where they just have them both on the objective. Blight Kings are still great. 20 Plague Bearers hold a lot of stuff, and they're pretty cheap now that they've gotten lots of point drops. Guo and Sloppy kind of support it all. I kind of like it all around. And also, Festus is underrated, and everybody should be.
This is neat.
Minus
All
1
right.
to save spell for a whole game.
So let's see. We got Jeremy Davis in the
Mhm.
Blessed Sons, Glotkin, Orgots, Blowab, Sloppity, Skabibbity. What's that?
I've got this
Scabic
one.
Blade Seeker. You
Yeah.
want to talk about it, Spencer?
Yeah, so this is some hot tech.
Mhm.
This is one of the new Underworld warbands. Skabic is a priest with the ability for a prayer on a 3-up can befoul an objective at 13 inches, so he can be behind his protective lines. If he does, until his next hero phase, his attached unit, so the plague pack, are the only things that contest objectives. And all units on there on a 4-up take D3 mortal wounds. So you roll for each unit, D3 mortal wounds. It's a 3-up prayer. No interaction.
Okay.
Take your objective.
No interaction.
Mr. Take
Okay.
your objective.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic piece of tech right there. That's really cool. It's about time some of the Chaos armies got more priests.
Also makes sense that the guy who a couple years ago brought pretty much every giant rat that exists in the world in one list would put a little bit of rat flavor in his Nurgle.
Right.
Got some nice
All right.
tech. I believe Blessed Sons is the subfaction that basically makes them like Stormcast. They dies when they die equal rune characteristic and 6 mortals back. It's the generic mortal subfaction.
Yeah, you like it.
Yeah.
2x6 Furies. Those are actually popping up everywhere in Chaos right now. I wonder
Furies are
why.
beautiful.
Right.
Well, 6-man unit. Oh, what's coherency fixed for minimum now? 6 models?
Right?
Oh, big screen that flies and moves fast and has the old Wary Fighters rule that I miss so much on my skins. Rip.
10 to the Gardens, 6 drop. I like it. Nice,
Yep.
nice and safe.
Yep.
Kyle Walker, a Fouling Host. It's from Whack,
The Whack.
right?
Or
What's
gamers
that?
around Conroe.
Is that
They're one of the subgroups of Houston that aren't the Apes.
right?
Very fun to play with. My one of my favorite sets of opponents that I've ever had the pleasure of playing with at a local or at a GT. They're just a blast. Kyle in specific, have not had a chance to play him, but I do like his list. Befouling Host, the generic demon-based subfaction, gets you an extra tree as long as your general is a demon. He's got Horticulous, Glotkin, who is really sweet right now with that sick points drop. He's like 600 points now.
Oh God,
He's
awesome.
dropped like nearly 200 points since release.
Mhm.
It's awesome. Don't get within 12 inches of him, otherwise you will surely regret it. Him and whatever's next to him. Just like with Jeremy, I forgot Jeremy had Clock too. Oh,
Yeah.
super good.
Blake Creek, baby.
Blight Krieg, super good. Poxbringer also got Skabic. 3 solo Beasts of Nurgles, 2x10 Plague Bearers, some Gnarl Maws, 6 Furies as well. Just like Jeremy playing a kind of this mishmash of tech and stuff, except a little bit more focused on the demons. But Fouling Host let's Beast of Nurgle be battle lines, so he's bringing those solo things, and they're pretty cheap for like 100 points or something.
All right.
Just good stuff.
Yeah, so that's going to touch on all of our Nurgle boys, our icky babies.
Yes.
Let's go to our single Skaven player, the bravest Skaven player.
Oh, man,
I hate
after
the
my own heart.
faction, so I'm going to let you do the whole thing.
See, I love the faction. Skaven, list building wonder. You have access to all these beautiful abilities as long as you bring the proper heroes to it. From Master Clan all the way down to Verminous, it does not matter. As long as you bring a hero, you can access an ability. Nathan, being a Chad here, has 3 Grey Seers on foot. Spell Lore is beautiful. Gonna get that skill leap for the teleport. Just gonna teleport, do some shenanigans, do some death frenzying, so his rats all just fight when they die. Great stuff. He's got a Plague Priest Furnace. That's belt. That's the alternate screaming belt. That's gonna say like no battle shock and do some prayer stuff. It is a priest. He's got the Warbringer. That's the big vermin lord that fights and kills stuff. Very good. He's got 3x20 clan rats that are fantastic screens. Good targets for buffs. He's got 10 plague sensor bearers, which will hurt anything that they hit as long as they don't get hit first. They are kind of made out of paper.
Yeah.
Then he's got a warp grinder, 2 hell pits, which I think are absolutely beautiful. GW just keeps doing wonderful things and making them cheaper and cheaper. They're like 200 points now. Those things are slappy. They move. People be sleeping on hell pit tech. Does a lot of stuff. And then he's got a warp lightning vortex, which is great because what you're going to see is that he's going to take one Gracier. He's going to teleport another Gracier, and that Gracier is going to throw out a warp lightning vortex and say, "Hey, did you want to move? You got to move through this first." It's got a lot of tech everywhere. We see a bunch of Master Clan. The big thing is that he has 3 Master Clan heroes, which gives him access to an ability called Always 3 Claw Steps Ahead, which basically means the first time that he runs, charges, and one other ability I can't remember. When he rolls that dice, he can take that die roll and apply it to every other instance of that die roll across the army. So did you roll a boxcar charge on your first charge? And congratulations, your whole army has boxcar charges. Absolutely beautiful. And then with access to with the Plague Priest on Plague Furnace, he has access to the Clan Pestilence rules, which means that he has the prayer, he can do the great prayers if he rolls a 6. Hopefully dish out some sweet mortal wounds, do some cool stuff right there. Warbringer is just Clan Verminous. I don't remember which one's his general, whether it's the Gracier or the Warbringer. I want to say it's the Warbringer because his grand strategy is Overshadow to kill all the battle line. So I believe he can use a heroic action to change his command trait basically every turn, or give an extra command trait to him. It's some pretty sweet tech. I like this. It's got a mishmash, taking a little bit of every clan, kind of pulling all this tech together, and I know really well. I've seen him a little bit. I don't believe he was at Hammerfest, but we saw him last time we were in San Antonio when we had Smash and Bash there. He was one of the 4 O's competing for that 5-0. So I'm very excited to see how he plays this list and where he ends up.
Yeah. I believe I played Nathan at Masters. Great guy. Super fun to play against.
Super cool.
All right. So that's going to tie it up here. Let's jump over to the next round of Chaos Armies. Seeing a lot of Overshadow and Slaughter of Sorcery for these grand strats. So
people are bringing a lot of wizards, kill all the wizards, or effectively doing a lot of damage, kill all the battle line while keeping one of yours alive.
Yeah. I mean, to me, all of these scream, just table your opponent, get a grand strat.
Pretty much. If that's what you plan on doing anyway with the list, why not take it? Just make sure you keep one of your battle line units alive. There are some people that forget that that's still part of the grand strategy.
Yeah. So here we are, Slanesh. I find it cool that 3 of the 4 Slanesh players are from San Antonio. Does not strike me as a San Antonio kind of army.
No.
But, they have nasty tacos.
And then one of them's from us.
And then we have one of our own. So they're all pretenders. The other one, I forget what it is, sucks. So no one plays that.
Invaders got hit a little bit too hard in the FAQs and erratas, hoping at some point they roll back a little bit of that so it competes. And then Godseekers is when you want to charge and do some board control stuff that lets you move when you don't want to. But Pretenders is just straight value, right? Like as long as your commander's on the board, you get 3 command points. And when he spends a command point, he can just spend that. He can do that command ability 2 more times for free. Whew.
Right. So let's jump right into it. Austin from Austin. Epitome, Glutos, 3 units of Bliss Barbs, 2 Spire Tyrants, Seekers, Fiends, and brought that endless spell, the Dreadful Visage.
Yes.
Self-Desire 2 drops. My man wants to control priority. He wants to shoot you. Yeah, he wants to shoot you with 33 Bliss Barbs, peeing off that Ren with those Bliss Barb Seekers, and Glutos is going to find the biggest, scariest thing that he can't kill and just cuddle with it for 3 or 4 turns.
Yeah, very much. This is kind of Austin's attempt at doing a non-Bliss Barb heavy list because he did not want to do that. 3 units was enough for him. I've actually worked on him a little bit with this. We talked about how the Spire Tyrant was the The Spire Tyrant was kind of the extra like tech to give him some screens for his little castle early on in the game that
Yeah.
can also just kind of move and hold an objective. And the fiends can go in and just mess somebody up. As long as they don't get hit first. They can. It's kind of a coin flip on whether they actually can like live certain things. They're -1 to hit, -1 to wound in certain situations. But this is just him kind of playing around with an idea that one lets him bring Glutos and two lets him not use that many Bliss Barbs. And I kind of like where he's sitting and ending up.
Mhm.
I think it's a really interesting take.
I'm super stoked to see all these epitomes. Epitome's a fantastic wizard, and give her Horror Frost. And if she ever gives herself 3 rend, watch out. She's coming for you heroes.
Yes. And
So
Epitome, I believe, is the one that has the 2-up War to Wound Ward.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just hard to sniper off the board.
so we'll jump down to Nick Swoop.
Ooh, one
Yeah.
thing real quick. Just a shout out to Austin and Jeremy. They'll be providing the requisite liquor needed for Jello shots to have during the Slambo Breakfast of Champions that happens before the event. So if you're there, join us early in the morning for the tailgate. We will have food, drinks, and merriment.
Yeah,
But thank you,
please.
Austin and Jeremy.
Yeah, please come tailgate with us. It's going to be a blast. I love that they do this. So, but yeah, Epitome, Shard Speaker, Keeper, Sigvald, 22 Bliss Barb Archers,
Mm-hmm.
Seekers, Twin Souls, Bliss Barb Seekers, Fiends, and then we're in a 4-drop. So kind of the same shtick,
My
but we have
man
Sigvald,
said, I dislike Bliss Barbs. I wanted even less of them.
right? I love Twin Souls. They're a great choice. They're so tanky.
Oh, yeah,
So
they can
big.
be.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you
Like
get them
a
on
lot of
infliction.
things in Slanesh, they can be.
Yeah. That whole
A lot of
army
conditional
is
stuff.
right.
Are you playing a melee army into Slanesh? Probably going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
Are you playing anything else? You might do better.
Yeah.
Just don't hope they don't roll them 6s on them temptation dice. Oof.
Bliss Barb Seekers are showing up. Let's get that armor out of here. I want bonus rend.
Yes.
So, but yeah. Also, Sigvald. Shout out to our boy. Unmitigatable wounds,
Oh,
except Marathi. So
Because Marathi doesn't
jumping.
get the ward, right? Just hope to just get that free 3 damage in.
Yeah, he'll get the 3, but he ain't killing her. I remember.
No.
I remember that talk when that War Scroll came out. So we'll jump down to Nina.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 3 Vice Leader? What's a Vice Leader, Spencer?
I don't know.
Believe
But I
that's
do
the
know
So
name.
it's
exactly what she wants.
Yeah, it's the Demonette hero. It's the Herald of Slanesh. That's a Demonette. Really, it's a really inexpensive Merciless Blizzard caster.
You know what? We like cheap merciless.
And Nina has really cool versions of them that are all painted in the black 3.0, so you can't even see them.
Okay, dope. Okay. So, yes, 3 of those girls. Keeper, Epitome, Sigvald. 3 blocks of 20 Demonettes, keeping it classy.
Ooh,
And-
just on that note, Nick just mentioned they allow the Demonettes to strike alongside the hero in combat, similar to the Chaos Lord on Carcadrack does with Knights. Does it
Okay,
there.
cool. They chain activate.
Yep.
That's sick.
Goes
Anything
really
with
well
more
with
Demonettes
those
on the
30 by
board.
20 demonettes that she's got.
Oh yeah, no. So brave of her to bring 60 Demonettes, on the board. She's not even paying depravity for them.
And props to bringing 0 Bliss Barb Seekers.
Right?
I'm not saying Bliss Barb Seekers. Bliss Barb Archers.
If you're attending the event and you don't know, Nita's been working on this army. It's a very cool concept for an army, so go out of your way, find her list, take a look at it. So, jumping down, we got Tai Tran, Lord of Pain, Sigvald, Epitome, a Vice Leader, 33 Bliss Barbs, 10 Bringers, 5 Seekers again, Slickblade Seekers, and we're in a 4-drop. So, looks like the Slanesh players trying to keep their drops low. They want to get some priority.
This one feels very elite.
Yeah.
For a Slanesh list. Like 10 pain bringers, geez. It's a reinforced unit. They're usually a size of 5. 5 seekers of each kind. The Vice Leader. The only thing that is 10 models at base size is the Bliss Barbs. feels like it's going to be like a very like low presence, try to have like punch high and trade up type of list, right?
Yeah, no, Slanesh has to play very careful. All of its models are so fragile, and doubling down into an elite aspect plus very fragile shooting, our boy Ty is going to have to be very careful with his army.
Get that precise movement going
Yeah.
on. Although those heroes do have a 4-up ward most of the time, so that is pretty sweet.
It's not the heroes I'm worried about. It's the rest of the army.
Yeah, true. But man, we talked about taking this. Heroes can last.
True. All right, so that's Slanesh. I like all of these lists.
Mhm.
Let's go down to slaves,
Ever popular.
right? I mean, look at them.
The
So-
Stormcast of Chaos. Let's be
Yep.
real here.
All right, Eli, tell me about slaves. What's
Slaves.
the sauce?
All right, the sauce is that the armored units are really, really, really good. Lots of 3-up armor saves, lots of attacks to do a bunch of damage, and lots of tech to make that armor real good. Are you devoted to a god? Congratulations, you get some random ability from that table, or from that list of marks. Do you like being on objectives? Congratulations. So do your heroes, so much so that when they get on an objective, they get to roll a table and see if one of those abilities applies. One of them could even turn them into a chaos god. So much devotion. It's perfect if you are a devout follower of chaos, but you also just can't pick which god you like.
Mm-hmm.
Most people like to mix between Khorne and Nurgle. We'll see what else we got. First list, even, we've got Host of the Everchosen run by Brian Fox. Now, Host of the Everchosen is my preferred subfaction, mostly because it's Archeon's subfaction keyword, and he's my boy. But that subfaction makes Chosen Battle Line, and what do we have here? A double reinforced unit of 15 Chosen with the eroding icon, meaning that it is Nurgle. So it was -1 to wound rolls in melee against it, and that banner makes it -1 to rend. Have you ever had 15 Chosen that are basically unkillable?
I have. They never got out of the deployment zone.
That is usually their problem. But if they do, oh boy, you better watch out because they go
Oh, yeah.
slappy. The rest of the list has 20 warriors, so that's one reinforcement with the Dread banner. Dread banner, so I believe that makes them Slanesh marked, if I'm remembering my banner names correctly. So if he's got a Slanesh hero, which he might with one of those Sork Lords, he can spend a command ability to give them run and charge. And on the charge, thanks to the banner, they get an additional attack.
Yeah.
Warriors are hard to remove anyway, and that they just have a volume of attacks that works really well. Cabal, 2x6 Furies, Godsworn, Hunt, 2x3 Axe Therodons. So we had a lot of like little dude tech, and then a bunch of bulls that are going to come in and play Axe happy.
Our boy Brian Fox bought 2 FOMO boxes and never got the update that it's a 5-up rally, not a 4-up.
Just a heads up, the Dread banner is for Undivided, so
Oh, the
they
Undivided
get to
one,
roll
okay.
twice on
Yes.
the Eye of the Gods instead of one. So when they're deployed, they get to roll on it. This allows them to roll 2 dice and then choose which one they get.
Yes, because anything that's not a hero only rolls 1 dice as opposed to the 2 dice to decide. And that is so that your random ass units don't turn into a demon prince, because that wouldn't make any sense.
That
Which
would be
one do you
awesome.
choose to ascend? How does
The
that hero work?
Sergeant.
You just have like 9 Corvus Cabal and then a demon prince just trailing along beside him.
Hey, if you can make one Varangard a general, you can make one random foot guy a demon prince,
I'd love to see it, GW. Come on, give it to me.
right?
Why
So-
settle for like a random Corvus Cabal though? Go for like one of the snakes in the what's it called?
The Splintered Fang.
Splintered
the one
Fang,
with-
yeah.
Splintered Fang, yes. Suddenly explodes, demon wings out of the snake.
Right. Bring the snake back because it's technically gone. So, jumping down to the next one, we got Chris Creech coming in from Harambe's Heroes, Knights of the Empty Throne, because this guy actually plays Slaves to Darkness.
Knights of the
Bellicor.
Empty Throne is kind of for those of you that don't, default subfaction of the army, because it gives all your mounted units run in charge. And what's really good in Slaves to Darkness? Chaos Knights and Vanguard.
Yeah.
Continue, Joe. Sorry.
Hey, Krakendrak's also pretty good.
Karkadrak is pretty good, yes.
So, Bellicor, we actually have some Bellicor representation, so that's dope. He's hopefully going to look at a boat from one of these KO lists and be like, nah, bro, you're not taking those thinners anywhere. Sork Lord, because casting's good. 6 Nurgle Varangard,
Mhm.
3 Khorne Varangard, 10 Knights, Nurgle Knights with the icon,
Yep.
Corvus Cabal because he wants to deep strike,
Mhm.
Unmade because he, you're going to fail his battle shocks.
He
Furies
also
because,
wants to stop rally.
oh yeah, no. Fury, awesome. Dominating presence in a 1-drop. Chris is like, I want a very powerful army. I want it now, and I'm going to control priority.
Yes. The other special thing about Knights of the Empty Throne is that the general, who you might think is the Sork Lord, which is wrong, it is specifically one model of that 6 Varangard unit. The Varangard unit going to go in. It's going to do a bunch of damage. It's also going to be hard to kill. The 3 Khorne Varangard are going to go in. They're going to snipe some things. And like you mentioned earlier, our boy Bellicor gains some rep and just going to hopefully say one model and say, you don't get to play the game.
Yeah. Brave choice with the 6 Nurgle Varangard.
Mhm.
Most sheep are going to take 6 Khorne Varangard. So I see you, Creech.
I'm looking up exactly what his if it's on his what's the makeup, right? Can I
Right?
Fell
find it?
Spears.
It's all Fell Spears?
Yep.
Yeah, see, he's got enough attacks. He doesn't need it.
Right?
Ask me how I know.
18 Fell Spears. I think that's gonna kill most anything they charge.
Yeah. So jumping down, we have Spencer Miller. Spencer, you're here, so why don't you tell us about your list?
So after many months of research and development, and really going off to study the Demon Prince's manuals, I emerged from the monastery with this holy grail of a list, and it was stolen. It was stolen from me by that damn guy in fucking Houston. No, in all honesty, Chris and I have been talking about lists for a little bit, so I took a little bit of a break from playing AOS, and when I came back, I started playing Coalesced, and I wanted to play Star Wars Warriors. I was like, these seem like they're going to be really fun, really tanky. They are. They're just also very boring to play. So, looking through some results from other
Please
events,
listen here. Don't listen. He didn't say that.
they were boring for me to play. I'll qualify it. And so one of the lists that caught my eye went 4-1 at the London GT. His name is Gear, and he ran a Knights of the Empty Throne list. I was talking with Chris about it, and we were going back and forth over points because this was right around the time that the small points drop happened. And so I was like, it's a very similar list. It runs Lord on Demonic Mount for the chain activation for the Varangard or Knights or Chosen, and it runs 10 Chosen instead of the Knights with the eroding icon, all that stuff. And we kind of went back and forth, and the more we talked about it, we were like, oh, well, like this, I think this unit might work better in this list than that one. And we ended up just kind of like slowly transitioning over to having a very similar list. I have a couple of small changes. It's really nothing super important. I have 6 Khorne Varangard as my general. He has Nurgle. I get four extra attacks or 6 extra attacks. So
6 extra attacks.
Math.
Yeah. That's because you're a man's man, Spence.
But yeah. So after playing it, it's a very fun list. It feels very much like an Iron Jaws list with the toolbox.
I do really like it, and I would like to try it at some point, but it's not what I have the models for in my army. I have them.
Yep.
But that leaves us with one list, unless you got any last comments, Spencer. That silence makes me think no.
No. So we're gonna jump down to Bill. My man's been bouncing around, so I'm glad to see he landed on slaves. So we got Sork Lord, Chaos Sork Lord. Oh wait, no. So
No.
Sork Lord, Chaos
Yeah.
Lord, Sork Lord on Manticore.
Yep.
2 blocks of Nurgle Warriors.
Okay.
5 Nurgle Marauder Horsemen.
The secret tech.
Right, those guys are so good. 6 Khorne Varangard because he likes damage. 10 Slanesh Chosen because only way you're going to get them across the board. Aether Void Pendulum.
Hey Joe, just a little interjection.
What?
Bill just mentioned in chat, those Slanesh Chosen just took down Broad in 1 round of combat.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Slanesh Chosen will slap your shit.
Bill the Marine is my man. Love
it. Let's kick your name out the mouth. So I love the list. Sorclord on Manticore is really awesome.
Yes.
Really hoping a lot of people are going to convert Talia Verdre, I think is her name, to
Talia, yeah.
Talia, to some Chaos Sorclords with Manticores, because God, that model is dope.
I hope so too, because that Manticore is sick, and I think it would be a really, really.
Mm-hmm.
The Manticore has never been a bad model.
Mm-hmm.
In the previous book, it wasn't bad. In the new book, it's either as far as its war scroll goes. Points have just been hard, and it's easy to just go Varangard. Go.
Yeah, no. Knights of the Empty Throne, Varangard. Let's keep it simple. Do a lot of damage.
I like the Chaos Lord to kind of give the double fight with the warriors, kind of the pair back to back, bam bam, left and right.
Mm-hmm.
The Sorc Lord and the Sorc Lord and Manticore, great wizards to pair for the tactics. And then, like we said, Nurgle Marauder Horseman, good tech.
Yeah, no.
And then Pendulum, because who doesn't love the Cleaver?
D6 mortal wounds.
I hear it's pretty good if you play against KO, as long as you roll your 2-ups.
Yeah. Also, 1-drop. Our slaves players are playing very conservatively. They're touching their battle regiments. They're very happy.
Yes.
All right.
Turns out slaves still likes to control turn priority if they can early in the game.
Yeah. So looks like that's it for slaves. I think we're done with chaos because we have 0 Zinch lists at this event, and I think we hate to see it. Right?
I love and I hate it. I like that army aesthetically. I hate that army, for the most part, has become very note, and I wonder if that's a huge reason why we don't see it.
Right. That army has devolved
Right
into
now,
take the
because it's just like,
Kronstein, take the heroes.
Yeah.
Oh man,
It's really good if you know how to play it really well, but if you're
All
not,
right.
it's way harder than it looks.
Oh yeah, no. There's only a couple people that can continue to see like 4-1, 5-0 success with that army.
Caleb.
No.
Anyway, I think you're right. I think that's the end of our Chaos Grand Alliance.
Yeah, let's hop over to Death. Got a few Death armies to run through.
All right.
Only a few.
Matt, you know about Death armies, right?
Yes, sir.
You want to start talking about some Death armies?
All right, sounds good. So, we have a little bit of representation from. I think it's just there's only 4 Death armies in the Grand Alliance, right? So we've got at least one of each of them.
Mhm.
But it looks like we all fit on one page, which is handy.
Yeah.
All right. So instead of doing something that's kind of a explanation of what's this army do in general and how do these lists differ, we are fortunate enough to see the first 2 factions only have one representative for each army. So Flesh Eater Courts, general premise. Used to be that they throw around a bunch of a little bit of mortal wounds from shooting. That's now an actual just normal shooting profile where I guess the terror guys still do mortal wounds based on your great bravery, but the little guys just have a normal shooting gun. We have 2 big blocks of horrors in this list. So none of the things that I was just the crypt horrors are the guys on foot, right? The flayers are the ones with the shooting. So never mind. BJ didn't bring any of those. He's got some terror. He's got a terrorgeist. He's got an archery regent. He's got a ghoul king. He's got 2 courtiers. He's got 2 big blocks of crypt horrors. 2 more supporting units, small units of crypt horrors. And his grand strategy is spellcasting savants, and he's running a 4-drop list here. So
to confirm, Matt, you are correct. The horrors are in fact the melee blocked horrors, not the shooty ones.
Right. So what he's got here is 2 big durable blocks of horrors and some recursion tricks to make those units stick around. Now I know Flesh Eater Courts has gotten some changes recently. I'm not very familiar with them, but that's the premise I'm seeing here is 2 blocks to keep you busy and do some good damage. Don't write them off as just all tank and no spank. They will poke back. A terrorgeist that goes where he pleases and noms on some things. And the Archregent actually still just an excellent spellcaster. BJ is a blast to play against. I played him last year at Slambo. We were on stream with the Weird Knobs podcast. Game was a lot of fun. Great opponent. Would love to play him again. But I think that this is going to be pretty much, like I said, 2 big units of kind of punchy anvils that tie you down while they use recursion tricks, and then a Terrorgeist that waits for an opening and devours something and hopes to roll some sixes and cause a pile of mortal wounds.
Yeah.
To add to what you were mentioning about the horrors, Matt, the changes for the new War Scroll is that they have an easy way to get additional rend and additional damage just by effectively doing what they want to do anyway. Being near a courtier and roll sixes on their hits rolls.
If I remember correctly, the one problem courtiers had before was that they didn't have any rend. I don't think they were even rend 1. I think they were dash.
No. The horrors get rend from being near the courtier.
Yes, they didn't
Okay.
used to. Their old problem was they had no rend. They now have rend. So it used to be any of these saves you fail, I think they were damage 2 or 3. They were real punchy with a lot of dice. It was just really easy to make saves against them. So if they've now gotten a way to gain rend, that adds a lot to fix their big weakness before.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I misheard you. I thought you were saying the courtier didn't have rend.
I think there are 4 attacks, rend 1 if they have a courtier, 2 damage, goes to 3 if they roll a 6. So yeah, no, they're gonna beat you to death with some clubs. And we've been talking about it in chat. We've said it here. For anyone that's attending Slambo, if you draw into BJ, rejoice. There are few players more enjoyable to play against in all of Texas. All right, so we're going to drop down to Night Haunt. Kel, he's bringing Quicksilver Dread. I don't know is this old reliable for him? Like,
I think it is. So I do know a little bit about Night Haunt. One of their big issues has been that they were very reliant on the Galatian Veterans battalion in order to make those big blocks of 20 actually be able to get all into combat. It appears Kel's solution to that is say, okay, I guess I'm going to see if I can make you fight last and just fight with a pile of units 10 and roll a pile of dice to try to accomplish that. Now, I played against Kel at the Masters GT. He won that game, was a blast, excellent opponent. Another guy who I'd be glad to play against again. And yeah, he was playing Night Haunt, so I've got a little bit of an idea of kind of what he'd be looking at here. But honestly, not a lot of people play Night Haunt, and I think that's something that works out in Kel's advantage is that Night Haunt having fallen off the radar a little bit, having a strong player who's very familiar with the list come in and be like, you know how this works, right? It hasn't changed in like a year and change. True. And he's perfectly happy to explain what he's going to do. And then you're like, well, my army had piles of Ren because I brought Karnoth sites. And he's just like, that's unfortunate for you, isn't it?
So we have an experienced player who's performed well with the faction throughout the whole edition, so the man knows what he needs to do. He's got Lady Olander, Allrock, which I believe is the deep striking guy, or the like teleporting guy. You can just be like, hey, get on a boat.
I honestly don't know what the Drowned guy does. I know that people were originally panning the unit as an excellent model with subpar rules, which prevented an excellent model from seeing play.
Yeah.
So if he's found a home for it, good. Maybe he can set a trend because a lot of people have wanted to find a home for him.
Yeah. We have the Guardian of Souls. That guy's just going to bring people back and hand out +1 to wound. Cruciator, because he's like, damage. Nah, I'm good. Spirit Torments, because he wants his dead dudes back. 5 min blocks of Harridans. They're saying no wards on the charge. Or no wards, I believe, at all. Can't make wards against our attacks. If a unit suffered damage earlier in the phase, Harridans are +1 to hit and wound. Spirit Host, because got to keep those heroes safe. Purple Sun, because they need free rend. Fright or Flight, because that's their best grand strategy. And 2 drops, because he wants to control priority.
And I'm seeing in chat that the secret tech behind Allrack is that he can teleport, and therefore you have surround and destroy in a box.
Yep. Put him in a
Makes
corner.
a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the theme of this General's Handbook is the battle tactics are hard. So anything you can do to secure an extra battle tactic is probably a 2-point advantage over your opponent. And a lot of games come down to just, well, we both held 1, held 2, held more the entire game. Who scored more battle tactics? Possibly turn 1, you've got a guy who doesn't get and more. And if you tie on battle tactics, the guy who went first and got an extra VP from the start of turn 1 is now winning.
Yeah. So Our only Nighthaunt player, we got best in faction already. I love to see it. So let's jump down to OBR. We're starting off with Dylan, Mortis Praetorians. Don't know what that does because Null Myriad exists. Does anyone want to tell me what that does?
So Mortis Praetorians has a countercharge. You've played Legion of Night. It's the same rule.
Oh, okay. So not Null Myriad, so worse.
Yeah, except he has 4 more guests, which are going to be hopping whatever screen you charge into.
I heard that's not as good as 8 more guests, though.
Math-wise, no.
All right. So let's start off. Catacross, Arcan, Osa Factor?
Mm-hmm.
Buffs
Okay.
the Morghasts or the other big guys, but really the Morghasts are what he's looking at here.
Liege Cavalos, 2x5 Death Riders, 4 more guests. Overshadow 4-drop. So Catacross does Catacross things. It's disgusting. Arcan does Arcan things. It's disgusting. Osa Factor wants to follow those Morghasts around, but it's going to be really hard because those are going to deep strike in. Liege Cavalos is a hero on a horse, and Death Riders are not heroes on horses.
The general game plan for Bone Reapers is to play a very durable game and use recursion to try to outlast you. Now, the Battle Scroll did nerf the recursion part of that game plan a little bit with all of these armies. I believe the big 5-wound models. Now you only come back injured or something like that. What exactly is it?
So if there's no wounds allocated to the unit, they can bring back a model with 4 wounds taken on it. So essentially 1 health left, applying to the Stalkers and the Immortus card. Otherwise, it's just heal D3.
That's what I thought. So I believe it's a flat 3. I don't think it's a D3. Soul Blight rolls the dice. I don't think OBR does. It might be different for each character, but I know Catacross, Catacross and Arcan, which are the 2 we're talking about right now, they don't roll a die. It's just 3.
I probably mix up with the Bone Shaper that just rolls D3 twice, and my opponent typically rolls a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, who can tell the difference, right? Yes, if it is now brings a model back that is wounded, the big difference here is instead of I rolled my 3 up, so let me go roll another 3 up because I can do this on the same unit again from a different source. It is now I rolled my 3 up, I got a model back with 4 wounds. Okay, I'm going to heal that model instead of rolling to see if I can get an additional model back. Or if you only get 1 back on the last roll, you now have a 1 wound model. You might be able to heal them again later, but that's not nearly as valuable as a fully healed unit, especially if you then take damage and lose the guy right again. Yeah. So significant nerf. The strategy has changed, and that's probably why we see this sudden pivot into what if we just hit people really hard with Morghasts instead, which it turns out that hitting the other guy works well too.
Right. Those Morghasts also, right? Those Morghasts also turn off commands near them, so there will be no all-out defensing this. All right, so there's Dylan. Also, we've had it called out in chat. Catacross is always Mortis Praetorian, never Null Myriad, so my man ain't getting his spell ignore. But he don't need it.
In Null Myriad, correct.
Yeah. So let's jump down to a Null Myriad list. We got Paul, one of our wacky boys. Catacross Arcad, I'm seeing a theme here. Osa Factor, seeing a theme. Soul Reaper, 2x3 Immortus Guard, 5 Death Riders. Goth Rizar? Okay, come on, GW. What is that?
The little monster
Riz.
Dude.
Yeah, okay. So the Riz Harvesters.
Mm-hmm.
Bone Tithe, Shrieker, the Suffocating Graveguard. There we go.
Gravetide. Oh man, Paul wants that anti-zombie tech.
Right?
So this is more the strategy you saw before the nerf came through, though probably with Immortus Guard and Stalkers are kind of interchangeable as far as what is your big 5-wound block that comes back and plays the recursion game. Immortus Guard have a fight twice ability. Stalkers are faster. They're both pretty durable. Immortus Guard slightly more durable, but both of them are just hard to kill, good damage. And it's a question of do you need mobility or a fight twice and an extra armor save? I think it is.
Yep.
With the Gothsar Harvester, especially, we're looking at this being a list that leans less into I murder you dead and more into do what you will, I will still be here.
Mm-hmm. Normally see those Harvesters paired with like a bunch of Mortec.
Yeah, I'm curious personally why it's in here because it doesn't really do that much. I think there's a tactic surrounding it, but
Mhm. I mean, bringing a model for a tactic is valuable. You're seeing a lot of people do it. So
We
if
just
that
said Kel was doing it a list ago, so no huge surprise.
right,
yeah.
A Mortis guard, mandatory bodyguards, and their fight twice does not have a range requirement, I believe, still. So they can get a pile in to get into range and slap you.
Yes. I have no models left in 3 inches, so you can't fight again. I believe works on Varangard, but it does not work on the shield guys.
Yeah.
Immortus Guard.
So watch out for those. They may get someplace they're not intended to be. All right. So Overshadow 4 drops. Keep your battle line safe. All right. Robbie Steinbring. Love it.
Bear.
Fair. 9. No Myriad again. Arcan. Osifactor. Leech Cavalos. 8 Morghast. 5 Death Riders. 3 Immortus Guard. Spellcasting Savant. 1 drop. All right,
So
Matt.
if Paul was leaning more into the I will outlast you and fight forever, Rob is leaning the other direction where the plan is, but what if I just killed you dead? This is a lot of hammer, and you'll notice the lack of Catacross, which is immediately dropping +1 save across the whole army.
Yep.
So that is immediately we're playing a far more glass hammer game. Oh, also he's part of the big recursion engine where he's part of why you get so many wounds back.
Mhm.
So less exciting for the Morghast, who I believe they can't have models brought back into the unit anyway. They just heal back to full, or not back to full. They heal 3 wounds, up to full health, and then they stop. So this is very much all right, I throw a hammer or 2 at you. One of them kills the thing I was worried about hitting me back, and the other one's fighting something I don't care about hitting me, so you can do some piddly damage, and then they will eviscerate that thing that they were fighting, because you can't issue command abilities to get armor or defenses or attack to try to hit me back from eating full damage. And then those 2 die. And then his next turn, he says, right, let me do that trick again. Okay, I've now killed 4 key units from your army with this stuff that charges 3d6, I believe. So do you have anything left I really care about? And it's going to be a fairly decisive game one way or another, because if the answer is yes, I do have something you care about, he's probably about to run out of gas. If the answer is no, I don't have anything that you care about, you probably don't have any more objectives. It's a pretty straightforward exchange at that point. It's like playing Old Doc.
Yeah. Kill them dead. They can't do nothing about it.
Yep.
Leech Cavalos, I believe, also hands out a -3 to charge.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Is it an aura, or is he just like,
It's an
that
aura
unit?
within 12.
Rough.
Yep.
Discount Matt Damon.
Yeah, that's the command trait, right?
Yep. So it's really there to try to reduce what you can charge into, and then in a Mortis Praetorian list, they get the counter charge, so they get their choice of where they go versus you.
Yep.
So if it's a command trait, that explains a lot, because the other popular command trait in OBR is -1 to be hit and -1 to be wounded by shooting. Both debuffs to shooting. That explains why I was like, I don't think Cavalos do that, but a command trait makes perfect sense.
But even then, the thing about the command traits is that they typically are per little hero.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I don't even think the Liege can take the -1 to shooting.
Oh, that's right. I think it's just on
only
the
locked in
the Healy what's it called?
Bone Shaper.
The dude in the chair? The Bone Shaper.
No, the little
No,
dude.
the Bone Shaper is not the dude in the chair.
Yes.
That's the dude with the dude in his hand.
Yes.
Yes.
The Ossifier, but smaller.
Yes.
All right. So that gets us through all 3 of the OBR lists. They're all, honestly, these are like some of the factions that y'all need to watch out for this weekend. OBR is super cracked right now. So be safe out there.
I would like to remedy my statement. I'm being DM'd and yelled at that says it's not the command traits that are locked, it's the artifacts that are locked.
Gotcha.
Apologies for the mix-up.
Oof. They got you in the DMs.
They got me in the DMs.
All right. So let's drop down to Soul Blight. We got 2 Soul Blight players, which is
That's great. We've got 2 on this call.
right. Max is dropping
whoa,
representation.
Hey. There's 3.
Right?
2 on this call, and also Spencer.
And that's her. So 2 Soul Blights, that's down from what we were seeing 5 to 8 Soul Blights like at events not a month ago. I wonder if the blanket points nerfs to the whole faction did anything about that.
Or the negative press propaganda campaign that has been leveraged unfairly against Neferata and her friends,
Right?
followed by
So,
the one against Manfred and his associates.
I
Do you
joked about
want-
Sigmar propaganda, but that propaganda is really anti.
right. So, do you want Castelli or Legion of Blood?
I think that I actually play a Castelli army, and I've played Legion of Blood previously, so either one's fine with me. But I think the high level is going to be what Soulblight do. Its damage is honestly not the best in general, though we're going to see some heavier hitters with these 2 lists in terms of just Castelli and Legion of Blood are more focused on I hit you, whereas you see a lot of Virkos is basically just you can't kill it all, and Legion of Night is spellcasting shenanigans and meddling with battle tactics.
Yeah.
So we're going to see 2 more damage-focused Soul Blight lists than you might normally see, with definitely on the Castelli half a lot more recursion. On the Legion of Blood side, there's a little bit more there to play recursion games with, but it's still going to be just Graveguard or Punchy. They always have been, and that hasn't changed at all. Joe, which one do you want?
I'll do Legion of Blood.
All right. Sounds like I'm talking Castelli then. So Castelli's big gimmick is every time you kill a model, not a unit anymore, just a single model with a vampire unit, that vampire unit at the end of the phase, or at the end of the combat phase, gets to pick up a bonus for the rest of the game. It can't have the same bonus more than once, but when your options are things like +1 attack, +1 to damage, and +1 to move, sure, okay. It's nice. Usually if you're getting out of combat with little stuff, nice to go get some objectives, but it's not the murder you dead plan like the other 2 are. How scary this list is to you will change based upon what unit types you have. If you have a lot of big elite stuff that you have to get into combat early, just assume that he's got +1 attack on like all of his army. If you've got heroes that have to play up at the front, assume that he probably gets +1 damage fairly quickly. If either of those happens, his list skyrockets in threat. I don't see Vordry in this list. No, there it is, Vordry. He's the first thing in the list. So Vordry is going to be able to copy a unit that gains a skill, hand it to another unit. The Vangorian Lord, do we have Undead Blade Master?
Hold,
Can
please.
find out.
Undead
Blade Lord, yes.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So the first model he kills, he's going to be able to choose to give that buff to 3 units. One of them has to be the Vangorian. One of them has to be wholly within 24 inches of Vordry, which is most of the table. And then the last one has to be the unit that actually made that kill. And he's going to, it's not like the first model he killed has to be the one he chooses. It's just going to be at the end of the phase. He'll choose one to replicate, and it's going to be whatever's best. So if you give up a single 3 wound or higher model, 3 units in this army are +1 attack for the rest of the game. And whether it's Vordry, the Vangorian, one of them has to be the Vangorian, whether it's Vordry or both units of True Blades, it's scary already. If the True Blades can actually kill a monster, one, they're going to get the +1 damage from Castelli. They also get +1 attack from their own War Scroll, and they get a move speed boost from their own War Scroll. Was it +1 damage, +1 attack? I can't remember, but I just remember
in movement.
Okay, cool. So they're going to gain basically the equivalent of the entire Castelli table that stacks with the rest of the Castelli table just for killing a single monster. And also they have a way to make things fight last. I believe it'll be a 2-up until those units lose all but like the last 3 models or something like that.
The big wolf guys.
Right. And since he can allocate damage as necessary, it'll be the last 3 wounds or the last 3 models the unit takes. Until he loses those, you are on a 2-up fight last.
Yeah.
It's a solid list. I really wish True Blades were battle line, because if they were, it would give a lot more flexibility to how you play Castelli. As it stands, it's hard to fit them in with Blood Knights. You kind of have to choose either cheap battle line and True Blades or Blood Knights. Personally, I like Blood Knights. I also have a whole pile of Blood Knights painted already. But there's plenty of justification for the True Blades, because if they ever get there and connect, that's a lot of Ren 1 attacks, and it can scale out of control very, very abruptly.
Mhm.
Grand strategy is Empire of Corpses. I believe that is bring 3 units back from the grave. Yeah?
Yep.
All right.
That's a bold grand strat with only 3 units to bring back.
I think he's got 4, right? 2 units of wolves, the fellbats, and the skeletons.
Okay,
But
Yeah.
yes.
So 5 units.
5 units?
2 by 10, 2 by 16.
You can't bring the True Blades back.
True Blades are
Oh, I
not
thought you
summonable.
could.
True
Thought you
Blades are
could.
vampires. That's why he's playing Castellai.
Yep, had it mixed up.
Yep. So we've got 4 units there. Suiciding bats is not too hard. Wolves are actually very durable. You can shove them into things fairly quickly and use their pylon to get them killed, but that's still a 20 wound brick. The skeletons, a unit of 10 is just expendable. When you get big units of 30, they are extremely hard to remove, but they are weak to burst damage, and the smaller the unit is, the easier it is to burst it down. Big units tend to play recursion games and get out of control. Small units just die. They hold objectives until they die, but they just die.
All right. So thank you, Adam. That's on the list. I'm glad somebody playing True Blades. All right. So we'll drop down Andrew. He's got Death Rata, Vango, Vamp Lord, 2 Necromancers, 2 blocks, 20 skeletons, block 10 skeletons, block a graveyard, Geminids. Oh, sounds choppy.
Choppy.
Okay. Let's play the audio real quick.
Well, there. I'll attempt to give people the sweet, soothing sound of my voice until it sounds actually sweet and soothing.
Okay.
Or to just sit here and stare at people. Oh. Sound is real bad. We are working on it. It started while Matt was talking. Good to know.
Oh, I've only been talking for like 20 minutes here, so that narrows.
What a wonderful
when?
time frame there. Yeah.
Like in the middle of Adam's list or in the middle of Andrew's list? Or can you even hear me right now?
I hope they can hear you right now. Otherwise, they're seeing a bunch of ventriloquist dummies on screen. Don't hear it now, so it must have been Joe. Was at the end of Adam's list. Sounds fine. I think we're good. We're good. We got a compliment that you sound cute, Matt.
Hey, I do what I can. Question mark.
Question mark. It was Harrison.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, hi, Harrison.
Okay.
It's the Trog boss being the Trog boss. I understand that.
Okay, good. Sounds fine. Right?
Well, no, you sound awful.
Oh, I sound awful? What?
Yeah, the problem was you.
What? I was me. Are y'all fucking with me?
Oh, he's
Let's
fine
get
now.
into to Andrew's list.
All right.
Okay. So, here we go. Andrew's list. Nephi, Vengo Lord, Vamp Lord, Double Necromancer, 220 blocks of skeletons, 10 block of skeletons, 20 Graveguard Geminids. Nephi's going to hand out -1 to hit if you're wholly within 12 of her for her Legion. We have a Vengorian Lord with the Ethereal Artifact. So, tanky little dude, harder to burst down, but unlike a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, is going to be able to get into those little niche places a little easier than that bigger base. But I don't think it's a downgrade. I think it's a fun side grade. Still going to hand out the -1 Randora. Vampire Lord's going to look at those block of 20 Graveguards and be like, you get an extra attack. Necromancers are there to generate dice in the Antoran Battle Regiment and be like, ooh, -1 to hit and wound and -1 attack from the spells. Skeletons rally at the start of every combat phase. So those are going to be hard to get rid of. Those 220 blocks, you're going to have to really commit to those. So don't mess up and find yourself stuck in an endless fight you can't win. The block of 10 will be way easier to get down. Those 20 Graveguard do so much damage. If he gets Horror Frost off on that for either the bonus to hit or rend, be careful. I at Masters I did 130 something damage to a block of squigs because all the bluffs landed just right on a 20 block. Geminids because commands are for suckers. Lust of Domination because standing on circles that don't technically exist is really easy.
Circles that you get to set up at the start of the game. Let's not forget the important part here. You've added your own objective to the table.
Right? You don't control them like regular objectives. You have to be standing on them at the end of the game. So you can't like put your foot on it and walk away.
But you can wait until your units come back from the grave and show up at the last minute to be like, actually, we're still here.
Right? We're in a 5-drop just because he's playing around with some of the fun stuffs. So I think it's a good list. I love to see Neffy on the table. Shout out, I hope Andrew gets many glorious Dagger of Jet kills. I wish him nothing but slain Gargants.
So
Even
let's not-
though it's a battle of D6 mortals, but here we are.
So let's not forget that that's a 5-drop list that it has Neferata in it, which means that after deployment's done, he gets to pick up 3 units plus Neferata herself and redeploy her. One of the tricks I was using when I was playing Legion of Blood is that I had 4 units I planned to put on the table and 4 units I planned to put in the graves. So I just said, all of my units are in the corner here. It doesn't matter where. Go ahead and set up your whole army. The rest of them are in the graves.
Mhm.
I'll let you know where my army on the table is after you're done. So I'm just going to counter deploy everything, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Yeah,
That's fun for me. And will be fun for Andrew.
Yeah, it's a very hard tactic to deal with when you're like, you basically null deploy your army.
It does mean that 5-drops will still let the other opponent choose when they go in a fair amount of games, but you get to, even if the 11 and 12 drop armies, you still get to counter deploy their entire army or throw almost nothing on the table, which is a very powerful advantage in its own right. I also am looking at those 2 units of skeletons and seeing one of them has immune to Rend from Neferata, and the other one has +1 save from Mystic Shield. So Joe has already alluded to, expect that to be a much more protracted fight than it looks like on paper. It's worse than it looks on paper by quite a bit.
Yeah. But that's going to round us out for death. This Grand Alliance has shrunken in representation pretty drastically over the last couple months. I think GW has gotten these armies kind of where they want them, at least in terms of OBR and Soulblight.
Yeah,
So-
they're now into the palatable over 50%, but not consistently landing in the 55 to 60% range. We'll see how long that holds out. A lot of armies that get nerfed tend to see a lot of the people that were booing those stats move elsewhere, and then they plummet.
Yeah.
Sometimes things shift a little bit for the people who are keeping them down, and they go right back up. So who knows?
I suspect here in the next 2 months or so, we're going to start to see 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 Flesh Eater Courts lists show up at every event. So, but yeah, so that's going to wrap us out of death. I think we're going to destruction next. Grunt in the chair.
Yes.
All right.
Destruction and ending on order.
All right.
So I think Eli and I can take destruction.
We totally can.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead. Let's get into Big Wah. Actually, Joe, do you want to start us off with this first list?
Oh yeah. So we got Sinto, Big Wah from the Wacky Boys. Let's talk about it. So we have a Weird Knob Shaman, a Wurgog, 2 War Chanters, a Swamp Caller Shaman, 10 Hobgrots, 2 blocks of 20 Stabbers, 10 Gut Rippers, 10 Brutes, 5 Fanatics. What's happening here? 6 Brute Ragers, and 6 Gore Grunters. And it's the Wah. It's the 13 drop.
Okay, so here's a couple things, Joe.
Yeah.
One, they're Gore Gruntas.
The Gorgruntas.
Okay,
Um,
what did I say?
It's not important, but you're wrong.
Don't worry about it.
Also,
Okay.
Sinto couldn't decide between playing orcs and goblins, so he's playing both. He's harkening back to the wonderful time in Warhammer Fantasy when they were one faction. And that's what we love to see. It's a narrative list. It's a soft list.
Back when or was an and.
So yeah, so we got some casting in here. We got a Wurgog. Man's gonna roll up, pop the trunk, murder some guy. I hope he doesn't murder anyone round one. That would be unfortunate. Game one, I'm
And why
sorry.
would that be
Game one.
unfortunate, Joe?
I don't know. So we got 2 War Chanters. They want to look at those Iron Jaws models and be like, bonus damage! Because that's what Iron Jaws needs. We got 10 Brutes. Those guys are pretty hard to kill. They got a lot of wounds. They hold objectives really well. Probably be difficult if someone was trying to, say, steal objectives with, like, Griffhounds. That could be pretty hard. 2 blocks of 20 stabbers. That just looks like a lot of wounds that stand on circles to me.
They also get to contest outside 9 from the objective.
I was
Oh,
gonna say
okay.
they don't have to stand on circles, right? Yeah.
Yep. They stand
Oh.
they're adjacent to.
Oh, so they look at the circle and they're like, that belongs to us.
Real goblin
To be
shit.
fair, that sounds like a goblin strategy.
Totally.
Just making up rules. 10 Hobgrots, those are just dudes that die. 10 Gut Rippers, those are dudes that just die twice as slow. Fanatics, those do damage, I think. And can they pop out of those unit of stabbers outside of Gits?
They can.
Okay. So, you know where those guys are going to be.
Well, it's one of the two. You got a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. They're going to be in the unit that does the most damage.
Fair.
6 Brute Rangers, because running and charging is really good, and why not be Annihilators for half the price and twice the fun? 6 Pigs, because pigs, they're easy, they're cheap, they do a lot of damage. Yeah, so that's a good list. I like Big Wa. It's basically old Cities of Sigmars, but for destruction, and that's a really great place to be. I kind of sad we don't have Gobsprack in here. Watching that dude blow wizards' heads off with mortal wounds on unbinds has been hilarious. So, Sinto, get a Gobsprack, blow some dudes' heads up.
I think I traumatized him at Hammerfest.
All right,
I'm
so
sorry, Tito.
this is my round 1 grudge. I think this is game 6. Sinto's going for his first win against me. I hope he gets it, because... Actually, no, I need more round 1. I need more free round 1 wins. Sinto can never beat me.
Also, Joe, I don't think we want your list going into the losing bracket in round 2.
I
You know what
don't.
mean?
Right?
Sinto already preparing himself. He wants that 1-5.
I want you to get the 1-5. We'll slowly get it back to parity. All right, I'm going to hand it over to the dudes that actually play this sub-faction, because orcs are lame.
Well, that's just incorrect. Let's hop
Excuse
into
you.
David Gonerman's list. So what you'll see here in the other list are going to be more the large centerpiece model. So in David's case, it's got Gordrak instead of Gobsprack. So something to note here, even though he only has a 4-up save, he does have the ability to issue the same command 3 times across any unit that has the Orc Warclans keyword. So it's not just Iron Jaws like the regular Mega Bosses, so he's a little bit better in Big Wall. Additionally, he has War Chanter, Laser Eye Wargog, a Snatcher Boss, 10 of the new Ard Boys, 210 Gut Rippers, some 6 Gorgruntas, and also took Slaughter of Sorcery.
Despite the fact that he has a wizard.
Listen, it's a bold move.
That brings
It's a
us
bold move,
brings
Cotton.
us to 3 lists, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is
okay.
right. Yep, I messed up. Yeah, so
It's
I
okay.
think
It's okay. It's not like he cast spells anyway.
So I think something to call out here with the Big Wah is getting access to pretty relatively easy battle tactics with the new battle scroll. Like Matt mentioned previously, being able to do battle tactics when your opponent can't, especially in this case where they're difficult battle tactics, generally pretty good. You have a pretty good chance of winning on that secondary rather than on the primary.
Also, David's probably my favorite person at the event because he's a real man for track.
Also, David has the highest bid for a triumph, so we're going to see him getting that triumph every game.
What's he pointing
Go,
at?
David. It's 100 points.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I played David, I've not personally played David, but I've seen him around. Seems like a great guy. Good luck, David. Devin Courtney with Roll the Wounds. Eli, you want to go over this one?
Oh, yeah. Devin also bringing big Wog because, of course, Weirgog, Weird Up Shaman, Wardock, Gobsprek because he wants that sweet anti-magic, double War Chanter, 10 of the new Ard boys, 10 Brutes, 5 Brutes, Maw Grunta Gouger. So that's the just a regular little monster pig that's not a hero. And then 6 Gore Gruntas taking Wog and being 11 drops. Pretty much doing a lot of the same stuff, though he has the anti-magic that we haven't seen in the other 2 lists. Gosprek has once per game just roll 3d6, and then with primal dice to modify his ability, the Mouth of Mork, that says anytime he unbinds a spell, if he rolled a 10 up, you take d6 mortal wounds. If he unbinds your spell, period, it's just d3.
It's a mean list.
It's a mean list, and I actually faced Devin at Hammerfest, and the main difference between what I saw then and what I see now is adding in the Ard boys to kind of. He had like 2 units of 5 Ard boys, basically made 1 unit to kind of act as a screen, and adding the pig to get that like mobile roar. And he also had a cabbage, a maw crusher. He took it out to get the extra stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Curious to see how that works out for him.
Yeah.
We had a real close game at Hammerfest. I beat him by 1 point.
Awesome. Well, hey, good luck, Devin. Let's talk about Zach. Zach Kennedy's running Big Wah with Gobsprek, 2 War Chantas, Weird Knob Shaman, Wardock, and a Wargog. Which is, say all that 4 times fast. 20 Brutes total, and then 9 Gorgruntas and 3 Ragers. So also taking Wah, I think in both the Big Wah and Iron Jaws lists, it's a pretty much guaranteed unless they get tabled. So guaranteed 3 points at the end of the game. Nice to have.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Overall, the Big Wah is going to be a bit castly. They have Gorgruntas that are there to run around, hit you on the flanks, but they're just going to move up and they're going to get close and say, "Hey, look at my laser eyes."
Like, what are you gonna do? Ping! Just gonna blast you off the board. Nah, I really like that Wardock tech. It's a bit of a cheap, just wizard, just to have a blizzard on a stick, spread out a lot of threats, and just and have again the tech. I think it is super techy, and I think it plays really well, especially in the hands of a pilot like Zach.
Yeah. Harkening back to the beginning where we were talking about stats, Big Wah really up toward the top, and I think they are going to be the boogeyman here. Even in a list that doesn't have Gobsprek, the ability to gain, to just outscore you while pushing forward is going to be really, really heavy to deal with. So
Yeah.
that's not a matchup you want to find.
Not at all. Not unless you can reach forward and touch them without having to get in your.
Yeah, the combination of a ranged assassin in the Wargog Prophets and a decent amount of beef in the rest of the army, and +1 damage from the Violent Fury to keep them up to speed, even though their war scrolls are starting to get a little bit dated for part of that army. You have a nice combination of threats and a way to scalpel out the pieces that you need to get rid of when you start getting closer. The one thing that this army needs to worry about is that any damage you put on those Wargog Prophets, you can only heal them so much. There's recovery. Their bravery is not amazing. You can't, it probably has fix and beat somewhere in the army. So that's a little bit more back.
Yep.
But anything else that you do as damage to them is taking wounds that they could deal off, because every time they deal wounds, they're rolling dice to see if they injure themselves as well.
Yep. 100%.
So it's not that there's no counterplay, but if you do not have that tool in your toolbox, and a lot of armies don't, it just becomes a question of how much damage does he get to do before he blows himself up. And if I remember correctly, it's about a 2-to-1 ratio before you count for wards.
I was gonna say, Leo Kin in the chat is popping up and saying like Wardogs can also heal. There's another reason to include them, which I forget because you don't see them that often anymore.
Which is just leaning into exactly what I was just saying. Any damage that you can do to them, the more they can heal before they have to switch targets or stop, the better off they are.
Yep.
Cool. I think, like we said, gonna be the list to watch out for. I could definitely see one of these taking the top.
There's not a lot of people who bet against Zach, and there's a good reason for that.
With that being said, let's move on to the Gargants, where we can probably spend all of 30 seconds about what the lists are.
Let's see.
But we're going to be nice and spend a little bit longer. We have entirely two representations here. We have the normal Gargants wearing Breaker Tribe, and then we have King Broad Stomp, the new army of renown.
I came back at the wrong time.
You did come back at the wrong time, Joe. So the first Breaker Tribe we got from Andy Guzman and the Slambo, who's bringing Kragnos, because she sure likes a god of destruction, with 2 Gatebreakers and 2 Man Crushers and Slaughter of Sorcery, because who wants puny wizards? Cool thing about Gargants now with their most recent book is that their buffs for their tribe all affect their Man Crushers as well, which is really cool. In addition to the namesake Mega Gargant. It doesn't affect Kragnos. Those Kragnos is here to just dish out 3d6 charge and then be a beat stick.
Yeah.
Pretty.
It's going to be, if you're not prepared to face this, you're going to have a bad time. They are going to kick you in the face and in the teeth, all up and down the table there.
Yep. And with the 3d6 charge and with most maps, you can deploy the Man Crushers just on the side and just let them go to the board and score, surround, and destroy without losing much. While 2 Gatebreakers and Kragnos run into your line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great list. Hunter has a little bit of a different take, taking 3 different Gargants.
A very classic style.
Getting crazy.
He decided to use 3 War Scrolls instead of 2. Cool. Going with 2 Gatebreakers just like before, but then a War Stomper and a Kraken Eater. Kraken Eater got that nice throwing shooting mechanic. You can also kick an objective forward and then kick it back to get that battle tactic. Some nice tech there. Yeah.
Let's talk about Brian and Chris. So I'm going to group them together like y'all grouped me and Chris together. Previously, it is the same list.
It is.
I would say there was a little bit of homework copying going on, but that's giving Brian too much credit. There's, so many scrolls in this book. It's if you give a chimpanzee a computer, one day they're going to write Shakespeare kind of thing. Yep. It's going to happen. It's fine.
It's right there.
Okay. It's King Broad Stomp. They're going to have a ward. You're going to not enjoy fighting it unless you have 10 to 15 chosen who just drop King Broad. Easy peasy.
I think the big thing about it is the thing that everyone's talking about, if you've heard about what this army does, is that it throws terrain. It removes it from the board. Just got a nerf, though. A really fair nerf. If there's monster on the terrain, can't do it. Can't remove the terrain on the board. And they have a unique grand strategy that also got a little bit easier. However, it's not easy enough that Slaughter Sorcery is not just better.
Yep. Let's talk about the King of the Kings. We got Jimmy's side. Jimmy, Lonix Sandy, Slambo representation. Wonderful opponent to play against. It's always a great game. Bold move with the Arcane Tome Slaughter Sorcery combo on a 35 wound hero. I like the confidence. What this says to me is Broad and 2 Gatebreakers are going to be my mobile kind of like little castle moving up, and you're going to have a War Stomper pinning you into place. Please kill it.
Please kill it while it kills your wizards.
Yep.
And the 2 Gatebreakers snipe the other wizards.
Yep. They're going to be like, hey, this piece of terrain? No wizards.
I appreciate Leo in the chat going, what are you going to do? Not kill the War Stomper in your face? Fair point.
It's a great pick. It's a top choice.
Yeah.
But they're all relatively similar lists. If you face one, you will understand how they all play. It is going to be a DPS check. Can you drop a Gargant a turn? And if you can you drop a Gargant a turn with an extra 33% wounds?
Yep.
So the answer is probably not.
No.
It's so hard.
It's very hard. If you have Blizzard, it's a little enough.
Yeah. All right. I think we can move on to the next set of destruction lists. If I had to get, if I was a betting man, I'd say it's gonna be Gitz. What do we see?
A lot of gets.
It's a lot of gets.
We have
Good
7 gets
variety,
players. Yeah.
I say good variety, and then I realize that half the list are squigs.
Yep. Well, let's talk about non-squigs. So Clay is rocking Glog's Megamog. They're going to be healing Trogs that heal at the end of every combat phase. It's got a Dank Hold. We got Trug. Can we get a Trug in chat?
Trug. 1 of 2.
We have Mollog, which is a really cool model. I am a slut for little familiar models that run around with your heroes. Mollog's got that. 12 Rock Guts, 3 Dank Holds, Chasing the Moon. Is a very common grand strat for goblins. Basically, keep your general alive. You're going to get it.
Yeah, pretty much.
These Trogs will hit you hard in the face.
Their problem is their movement. They're not that fast. But man, can they take a punch, and man, can they give one back.
Yeah. And Trug, the fun abilities that Trug adds, I do know that there's some back and forth on, is it effective? The chances of you rolling what you need when you need it on 4 dice, relatively high.
Yeah.
It is going to happen when your opponent at least wants it to happen.
Yes. I think the big thing to notice is that there's no Scragron on the list. Fully going for the Trogs. Yep. And I super love that.
Yeah.
I love the commitment.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun list.
Oh yeah.
Dimitri, we got a Loon Boss on Mangler. We have Scragrot here. We got a Squig Boss. We have a Web Spinner Shaman, a Madcap, 10 Boingrot Bounders, triple or double reinforced Squig Herd.
Sorry,
like
just a lot of gross boys.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. Got 20 Shooters, which are superior to Stabas. Suck it, Sinto. 3 Fell Waters, 6 Sneaky Snufflers with Protect the Shrine. Dimitri is an old Git's head, so he knows what this army does. He knows how to pilot it really well. Like I mentioned about the Slaves of Darkness being Iron Jaws with a toolbox, this is very similar to that. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of really cool synergies. The ability for Fell Waters to turn off your pluses to save, and then you have your Squig Herd get in with Hoarfrost. -3 rend on a giant unit of Squigs is awful.
And they don't even need it. That's like a bonus. Like 36 Squig Herd alone, just gonna do a bunch of stuff. Are you gonna kill them? No, you're not. And if you do manage to kill them, guess what? You got to kill them dead because the last 6 models are gonna bring back the rest of the unit. They can't rally. They got better.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. If you think you can chew through that, you can. Eventually, it is not good.
Not worth it. Let's not forget that they like Battle Shock. They like running away because they just deal mortals back to you.
Oh, I hate that ability.
Nah, it's a cool list. I like Dimitri going in on the Squigs. Jocelyn Mork just making them more killy. Get under the moon. Get run and charge. Protect the shrine. He doesn't want you near his loon shrine. Stay back. That's what he wants.
Yep.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about Gabby's list. King's Gits. So I think this is a really good choice. She's taken 2 Shamans, 1 Fungoid, 1 Madcap, a Dankhold, Scragrot, and 18 Rock Guts.
Hell yeah.
King's Gits lets you roll twice.
Yes.
To try to bring something back. So the chances of that happening very high whenever that happens. Bringing back 3 Rock Guts when you don't want them to be there, it's going to be very annoying. Mork's Mighty Mushroom is very, very rough to play against Endless Spell, especially when she's probably going to be able to cast it on a very high number with all of the bonuses from Primal Dice. So it's getting where it needs to be. And then Gobapalooza to, soup up a unit of Rock Guts and send them in, and then, reset, rock the next time for that.
I like it. It knows what it's about.
Yeah, and she's been playing a couple different lists and kind of back to Gits. I think she's gonna have a great time. And depending on matchup, I think she can do really well.
Yeah, it's been cool. She's come up the last couple tournaments we had, and hung out with us, which is great.
Cool. We got my boy Jacob playing Jaws and Mork. with Scragrot, a Squig Boss, a Loon Boss on Mangler, 3x10 Boingrots, Squig Herd, and then a regular Mangler Squig. So this 24 block of Squig Herd is actually 12 block. That's a typo on my part. Apologies. Jacob entered it in with the incorrect number of points. What a cheater.
Where did
We fixed
all
it, so
those
it's all
points
good.
go?
The points got hurt really hard after really good.
Yeah.
Well, no. Where did he put those points after he swapped them?
Oh, he just dropped.
It was just an old list. So incorrect points after the updates. So Scragrot went up, Boingrots went up, Squig Herd went up.
Okay.
So he dropped 12 Squig Herd to get right back underneath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slide in.
Jacob has one goal, and that is to beat Jody's face in. Jody is Jacob's round 1 grudge. He is going to send 30 Boingrots into Jody's trees. Hopefully Jody's ready for it. And hopefully it works. If Jacob doesn't connect, it's going to be a rough time.
Don't worry. The moon will go to the middle of the board turn 2, and that's all I'm going to get run in charge for the whole game.
And +1 attacks when he makes that charge. Things the jaws will work.
Yep.
Which similarly is what Kyle Wright wants to do. Except he did not do it by 3x10 Boingrots. He just has one big block of 15.
Yeah.
And then
big
blocks of Squig Herd.
Yeah, two large blocks of Squig Herd. I think Overshadow here is going to be a really, really interesting shot. 15 Boingrots and the Squig Herd can do it, but depending on positioning and what into a mirror match, it's going to be nigh impossible.
Yes, agreed. I think the really interesting thing to look at here is this is the we haven't mentioned Gabapalooza much. We only seen it in Gabby's list so far, and then Kyle's list. Really good set of heroes, or not heroes, but wizards and other things that I guess we're not seeing that much of.
Yeah. I guess people don't want Ren.
Does Overshadow have your battle line left and not your opponent's, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Does it count starting army or just any battle line?
That's a good question, man.
Because you can bring him back from the Loon Shrine. That makes it a lot easier to make sure. Okay, so anything that recurs from the Loon Shrine does not count for that.
Correct. Yep.
All right. So the concern there is that those are low armor battle line that don't get to care if they come back. That doesn't fix your battle tactic, and they need to be in combat to do their job. So I see the concern you guys are raising. Was just going to say, hang on a sec, does the Loon Shrine fix that problem?
Yeah, unfortunately not. And also, I think the units have the DPS. The problem is that it's 3, right? And the mobility for 2 of those is relatively low. So Boingrots running around can snipe out some battle line, but the Squig Herd themselves, they're going to just sit in the middle of the board. So it's going to be just tough overall. Not to say it won't happen. Kyle,
Boingrots don't want to be fighting battle line. They want to be fighting something value. They want to charge a hero and say, cool, here's 15 dice on 4-ups to cause a bunch of mortal wounds. They still work like that, right?
Yes.
Yep.
You only need 1 to get next to him.
Yep. So you do that, you hit a unit with mortal wounds, and then you charge what you really want. Well, I will say, roll the wounds. It's a good group of people playing out of there. So overall, I think it's going to be a tough list to play against, regardless of that grand strat. But let's talk about a cooler list. We got Rick with Trucks, Trogger, Truck. Joe, you want to give us a? Do you know what Trog Herd does?
From my understanding, it's basically just Trog's ability, but for Trogs. That's it.
That's absolutely they do still get the shrine and the light under the moon abilities. But yeah, the big benefit of Trug's Herd is that when you roll for that Trug ability, it can apply to your whole army board wide until the start of your next hero phase. When you then just roll again and see if you get what you want.
Because Trug can choose to keep the buff, but your army loses it, so he needs to roll every turn to hand it out to the whole army.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I like Trug. Trug is a good dude. He's a like Rick. This is a hero. This guy plays AOS.
And Rick said he liked Trog bosses so much he decided not to just put 1 in, but 2, and pair them with each a pair of 6 rock guts, each with a unit of fell waters, and then another dank, and then a Dankhold, and then a Gravetide. Just fun. I don't think
Yeah.
there's much we need to say about this list that hasn't already been said.
Yeah, no.
He
If
took
you
half a list, copied it, and said send.
right,
Hey,
um,
it's
watch
gonna
out for those fell waters though. Those things are mean.
They're gonna be sneaky.
Yeah,
Like Spencer said earlier, they're gonna turn off your save and then make you one worse.
right. That's fun. Gravetide because do we still hate zombies?
We still hate hordes. We
We
didn't
still
know there wasn't gonna be any zombie lists before we submitted lists. I too have Gravetide in my list. We'll get there when we get there. But no zombies this time.
I
It's
will
just a
say,
big base.
Gravetide is the movement blocking, but it also works really well into the mirror.
Yes.
Sending that into a Squicker unit and just not engaging with them, so they have to then blow up on themselves or
Mhm.
waste their triumph. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk Vince's list and hop into other factions. So Vince, another Roll to Wound player. I've had the fortune to play Vince. Great person.
He's great.
Taking a
Great fun.
sneaky gobsprack.
I know, right?
It's gonna be great. I think this is gonna be a really fun list to watch being piloted. Vince is a good player, and I think if he enjoys what he's playing, he's gonna
Mhm.
do really well with this list.
Yeah.
We talked about
Palooza,
15-point
Janko.
Grots, 48 Squig Herd that are coming back. They're all gonna have +1 attack on their Squig jaws whenever they charge. So whatever they get into, they're gonna be chomping on.
Yeah, I really like that this list just leans on the offensive tech of the Squigs and then just provides a tech of support heroes that just can do their job while not having to be next to the Squig herd.
One other comment here: one drop, the only one drop,
Kids.
I believe, other than Jacob. So there's two. Those are gonna be the ones to watch out for.
Mhm.
All right.
That makes a lot of sense. Being able and in the mirror, being able to determine priority is really good.
Mhm.
All right.
Mm.
Let's hop into Iron Jaws. We got the one player, Eli. Talk to us about
You
Matthew.
are a true hero among men. Running Bloodtooth, my favorite preferred subfaction of Iron Jaws. Iron Jaws like to do one thing. They like to move and they like to smash. You do those two things, you're a good Iron Jaws player. Just remember that there are 4 keys to movement and not just one. Please remember A, S, and D exist, not just W. Getting into your unit your unit selection, we got the nice Maw Crusher. Love me a good cabbage. Makes for a good coleslaw. When it makes the coleslaw, not becomes the coleslaw. Let's be clear though. He's got the Anvil Smasher. That's the new hero that came out when the Reign of Brute released. The Anvil Smasher can hand out mortal wounds if it's got the tongs and stuff, which I imagine he has. I'm not looking at the full list here. We got 3 War Chanters because my man said I got 3 units that need +1 damage, 2x6 Core Grunters, and the Maw Crusher all getting +1 damage. And then to round it out, he's got 2x3 Gore Grunters. And then choosing Baron Icegate for his Grand Strat. Now, someone's going to have to remind me what that is because I have not seen that Grand Strat taken ever.
Mm.
That is a
Going to
bold
be
choice.
units in the middle 6 inches of the board.
Well, luckily, moving to the center of the board is pretty easy for Iron Jaws. What with all the extra movement that they get, they can move in the hero phase, they can move in the movement phase, they can move in the charge phase, they can move in the combat phase, they can move again in the combat phase, and then they can move in your combat phase. Lots of movement. Bloodtooth lets them move at the end of it lets any Gorgrunter unit move at the end of the combat phase if they have fought in that turn. And depending on how far away they are from a unit, it determines on what they can move. If they're engaged, it's free pylon. If they're not engaged, they can either make a normal move of 9 inches or just charge and do some mortals out of phase. The Mighty Destroyer's command point to let you do it in the hero phase, kind of similar. If you're outside 12, get a normal movement. If you're within 12, make a charge. If you're within 3, pile in. The army just moves. And if you got units with Violent Fury on them, they also smash.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun list. Having played Iron Jaws a lot, it's a ton of fun no matter what. And let's get into Randy. So Randy's going to be running Ogre Maw Tribe's Meat Fist. He has Kragnos, 4 missiles, 2x4 lead belchers, 4 iron guts, and 20 Noblars. Randy is going to want to move up, shoot you a little bit, and then just slingshot a tyrant into you for some mortal wounds.
Bazooka.
Yeah, they get a better chance at doing mortals on the charge because they're going to be
Or-
in Meat Fists.
they're in Meat Fist, and they're Brawler Guts. So they're all doing mortals on 3-ups.
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 Ugh.
They get 2 +1s. One from Meat Fist, one from being Brawler Guts. Well,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Brawler Guts makes them do it like they're a monster, 4-up, and then Meat Fist set a plus.
Yep, it's going to be a mean list.
Mm-hmm.
It having played against it, it is fun. It is very fun to see what happens.
Yep.
But I think it's really going to be dependent on what he gets paired into. Things with a decent ward save, especially against mortal wounds, it's going to be tough. And anything that just starts popping tyrants at range, also going to be really rough.
I've played
Iron
this list
Guts
a lot.
do help, though.
Yeah, I've played against this list a lot. You can table him and leave him with just Kragnos, and Kragnos can still win a game by himself.
Kragnos can, in fact, solo many armies.
Yeah, turns out a 700-point unit does some work.
Who would have thought?
All right.
What he doesn't like, ironically enough, is kind of a strategy in the mirror, a mirror type of strategy that wants to just like do a bunch of mortal wounds that might be out of phase. He's only got a 6-up ward and only 18 health.
Yeah, no, the Destro donkey folds to mortals.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. It's going to be fun watching him shoot those things around.
Yep.
But let's get into some more orderly things.
Order, quote unquote. Because I really think we should just be putting air quotes around order every time we say it.
That's fair.
Like, the Sigmar propaganda has really going a lot.
Order, and also Daughters of Cain.
And also Ideneth Deepkin. And also Lumineth Realm Lords. And also Seraphon.
Lumineth Realm Lords are definitely order. Like there are many things you could say about there. They are very order.
I don't know. I've read some of that lore, and this is just very, very scary. Some of the things they're willing to go through, they'll do.
Order is lawful, not good. Check your alignment chart.
Fair.
Let's talk about Isaac's list.
Morath is also lawful, not good.
I mean,
she follows the code. It's specifically hers.
I'm about to say she makes the laws, so I suppose she is lawful.
Exactly.
So let's start with Isaac, like Spencer said. Daughters of Cain, Celebron, command point teleport. You can command point teleport out of combat. Really good if you're the Shadow Queen and don't want to be dying that turn. So Bundo, our undercosted, has too many health points, does too much damage. Base model Gargant for order. God, I hate Gargants. Marathi, the Shadow Queen. You'll love to see him. You'll love to hate him. A Medusa, because he had points, and a Medusa's good. 9 Shadow Stalkers, because they're battle lining Celebron, and they're battle lining Celebron. They teleport instead of move. There's also a tactic around them that you'll never see done. 2x10 Witch Elves, just because these girls are going to do 2 battle tactics by themselves. They're also, with no support, can hit a lot harder than most unsupported battle line. 10 melee snakes hit really hard and do a bucket of mortal wounds immediately after they fight. And Blood Snake, because doing a grand strategy with an endless spell is really awesome. Not but destruction, he just has to smash a piece of garrisonable terrain. So, you know.
And what's more awesome than monstrous rampages on an endless spell?
Yes.
Right?
What is this not but destruction?
It's a Daughters of Cain grand strategy. You have to smash a piece of defensible terrain.
That is chosen at the start of the match, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be in your opponent's deployment zone if possible, I believe. And if not, your opponent gets to choose one that's on the table.
Yes.
Which means that if it wasn't in their deployment zone already, there's probably maybe one of them at most. What's the pack look like for Slambo? How is terrain set up? Is that defined in there? Because that actually is a major concern with this this grand strat is always how is it going to play for this particular GT?
That's a great question. So with that, there should be defensible, I do believe, is what Isaac mentioned to me.
I got the pack pulled up. It says terrain set up by the players. Defender will set up terrain, roll on mysterious terrain. Attacker will choose which territory is his, deploy the first unit. All I can find directly in the pack.
Yeah. But I do believe there was mention that it should be relatively easy.
Okay. Because you start getting some real interesting TO questions for did I automatically complete or automatically fail my grand strategy if the table has no defensible terrain on it at all.
Gotcha. Looks like Isaac's in chat and said he did ask and was confirmed that there's one defensible piece per table.
Okay, well,
Hey.
then his opponent's choice is going to be very straightforward, and whoever has defender to set that piece of terrain up has to pay attention to the fact that wherever it goes, he is mandating that Isaac send something there. Now, as pointed out, it might be a Bloodwrack Viper who just wanders over, smashes the terrain, and continues on. If it is too close to your own troops, it might be that's where Bundo was going anyway, or the Shadow Queen was going anyway. So it creates a very interesting series of questions for his opponent to answer, while he also has an army that just passively is very good at battle tactics and has two very hard to kill pieces and some good sources of damage.
Yeah. It's a very interesting list. I played against it in its previous iteration before it started doing the grand strat tech, and it does battle tactics well and kind of is a very interesting take on playing Doc without playing Doc.
Got
Yeah.
it. And Isaac has said that he talked about a 27-inch Bloodwrack Viper, which sounds like he's got Crystal Heart on the Bloodwrack Medusa. So that's what she's there for. She is casting that at double range, and then it's moved.
So turn 1, he's probably going to secure his battle tactic, and then he's going to focus on
Grand strat, even better.
Grand strat.
turn 1 his grand strat, and then he's going to focus on doing 5 very hard to interact with battle tactics and just stand on circles. Yeah, no,
Sounds
that's,
seems easy.
Hard to remove stuff, yeah.
he had a pretty insane record with this here locally. I think at one point he was like double-digit wins with 1 or 2 losses.
Yeah, I think he took it to like 3 or 4 tournaments in the lead up to Hammerfest.
Yeah.
He brought this list, if not exactly the same, very, very close, and was just wrecking people with it.
It's a very outside the box look at Daughters of Cain.
Yes.
As we've already called out, also the fewest Daughters of Cain models you can put into a Daughters of Cain army.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting outside the box take, and it is effective.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And given this is kind of Isaac's like list building style, this is he loves to kind of like pull that out of the box look into an army that he's interested in and see just what he can make out of it.
Oh, good. Don't inflate it. He just likes putting bundos in lists.
Oh, let's be clear. I hate it, and I wish it didn't exist.
Right.
Mercenary guardians are bad, and people should feel bad.
Let's go to
talk-
Fire Slayers.
Yeah, Fire Slayers, Bishop Falcon. Joe, your Fire Slayer man.
So Runefire on Magmadroth, Grimhold Exile, Battlesmith, Flamekeeper, Runemaster. We got 10 Hearthguards with axes, 10 Hearthguard with the Mortal Wounds, 10 Volkites with dual axes, 2 blocks of 10s with sling shields. Got Slaughter of Sorcery. So really, I look at this list and I'm like, I like the Runefighter on Magmadroth. Adding a Roar to an army that doesn't have that normally on those bonus rend or bonus attack turns for the runes are really excellent. Those units of Volkites to fuel the Flamekeepers to give those Hearthguards fight on death or extra attacks is going to be excellent. We really just want to see this man roll 6s with those Mortal Wound flails. So I like it. Grimhold Exile is an excellent addition to the army. He's going to hand out Run and Charge. He once per turn, pop a Mega Gargant, or any monster that has any model. He's going to roll dice equal to your wound characteristics, and on 4-up steal a mortal wound. He can do that once per game. And he's a little slappier than the kind of average hero profile we see floating around. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, 2 rend 2 damage instead of rend 1 2 damage. So no, super not generic, but kind of good stuff. This is what we want to see from that army right now. Gayfeared is going to add wound to all of his heroes, give him 2 additional artifacts. So no, I like the list. I think it's approaching the best most Fire Slayers can accomplish right now.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that's that. Deepkin, we got to talk about this list because I wasn't sure what's going on with this thing.
It's pretty straightforward. There's a giant pile of sharks They are decent in close combat. They are decent at shooting. And that kind of sums it up. Like, it's not a bad war scroll. There's a lot of them. There's a decent amount of wounds there between them. And they're fast. Like, it's just all around a very well-rounded unit that does a little bit of everything and does it pretty well. Not ridiculous in any of it, but good at all of it.
Okay. When I was looking at the list presented in BCP, I wasn't sure how many sharks we had in the Bloodthirsty Shivers. I'm being told it's only 6.
Only
3
6.
each.
No.
Oh, there's 6
So
single shivers.
Yes.
No, the way that the list is like parsed out, it's really weird because the Bloodthirsty Shiver is 3 sharks, but the list kind of puts them down individually, but puts the point total for all 3 next to it.
Okay.
So it's really weird. So it's actually just 6 sharks.
Okay.
Okay. I was trying to figure out how we had that many sharks and a turtle. And I'm like, I thought those were still 100 points each. That should be like 1,800 points by itself.
Right.
I had the same thought, and that's why I went and just checked. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
was
makes more sense.
when I was
Separate
bringing
shivers.
this over, I'm like, what's going on? I was like, are there 18 sharks here? Because that's what I want to see. But,
Okay, so this is not quite as ridiculous. That same idea, except instead of being 3 times as many of them, it's a manageable number. But there's also a turtle, a king, and the
6
Tidecaster
Swan
flip the
Guard.
tides, I assume. Like, that's
Yes.
a command trait now, right?
The Tidecaster, I believe, can just do it. I don't even think it's a command trait. I
Oh,
think the
that's
Tidecaster
right. It
can just
used
do
to
it.
be she had to be your general, and now it's just on her war scroll.
Yes.
Okay.
Mixing with Phaethon and the Shivers, so the sharks have the extra attacks.
And exploding sixes.
Exploding 6s.
Yeah.
On both shooting and melee, which is the cracked part.
Yeah.
6
turtle for
sharks do
+1
really
to
well.
wound?
The +1 to I believe they're +1 to wound.
Yeah, I think the turtle hands at the +1 to wound aura, right?
No, they hand a +1 to
turtle
save.
is +1 save. If you're Namarti, you get +1 to hit.
Okay.
But none of this is Namarti.
Oh yeah, it's all with wound.
Yeah, it's all mounted.
Yeah.
With the exception of the Isherin Tidecaster, but yeah, the rest is mounted.
And I did get confirmation from chat that it is 6 sharks total.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. I mean, to be fair, we kind of didn't question it because we've seen Oops All Sharks lists do reasonably well lately.
I
So
haven't
it
seen
kind
this
of made
army in
sense.
like 8 months. I don't know what.
Yeah,
they're doing.
Deepkin, I know, have been on their back foot for a while, so I was like, I didn't think they made sharks that cheap.
They did.
Where it really started to look weird was 18 sharks and also a turtle. I'm like, that's a lot of points.
Sharks are
that's
150 points each.
Yeah, okay.
Sharks are 150 points each for 1. They are pretty cheap. Then the Shiver makes it 3 individual units of 1. But so it's like 1 war scroll that represents three separate units essentially.
Got it.
But we have seen lists. The most successful list that we've seen lately, apart from what happened at SoCal with the Dom Hain Namarti list, is we've seen 1 hero, as many sharks as possible. Go.
Okay. So this looks
is what.
like,
Go for it.
Yeah. So this looks like the game plan is going to be pretty much what you'd expect from a similar list to that. A little bit better armor because the turtle's there to provide a buff. And the king gives you another little scalpel piece because he's a fairly small base, fairly punchy once he gets into something. So he can get into a backline and cause some problems. And using the flip tide rules, we'll see turn 1 is run and charge, and turn 2 is high tide.
Yep.
So especially if he can go, is this a 1 drop or 2 drop? 2 drops. So his goal is if you can't reach him to threaten him turn 1, he gives you the turn. He makes all his charges that he wants to top of 1. And then whether he wins priority or not, he will be fighting first on the top of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, he still, pulls a double turn and then gets to shoot you again. But it's a pretty straightforward plan of hit the Alpha Strike hard, figure out what's left at the end of turn 2. He's got a lot of mobility, a good mix of shooting and close combat. Not a ton of wounds in the army. Sharks have a good amount of wounds in that unit, but they're expensive. They add up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what I see is that he needs to get your wound total down where he is before high tide's over.
Yeah, because, and you mentioned this a long time ago, in an old review, sharks still only count for 2 models. Having lots of sharks means not contesting objectives that well.
Yep.
Which leads into
Yes.
what you were saying before.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's a total of what? The king is 2 models, Tidecaster is effectively 2 models, we're up to 4. The
Mhm.
guard are 1 each, so that's 10
Mhm.
models. Sharks are 2 each, so that's 12, 24 models. And the turtle's a monster, so less than 30 models of contesting power in the entire army.
Yeah.
Alright.
Which is another issue and why we haven't seen Deepkin do that well.
Yeah,
So-
but I think that the most recent stats actually had them jump a whole bunch. I think I'm not sure exactly what that was. Probably discounts on something.
They are
Um,
improving. Yeah.
And remember, 29 models is still more than 0.
Yeah.
And a good alpha strike means that you can put your opponent at 0 pretty effectively.
It's true.
Alright. That's a good way to kind of review Deepkin for people that have not seen it in a while like me. But one thing we have been seeing a lot of recently, unfortunately, KO. Here we go. So, Ashley's list, we have a kill boat loaded out with heroes, 15 thunders. We have 2 units of Arcanauts to stand on circles, an ironclad for those thunders and heroes to sit in, and Gotrek, which is an excellent take. I was very sad up until we got to the Gotrek part, and I'm like, okay, now we're back to a narrative list,
Now we're getting spicy. We're liking it. I'm liking it.
right?
But what's the
Gotcha.
one problem that you have in KO, right? Is that you've got an Unleash Hell. If somebody gets you, you've got 1 Unleash Hell to fix the problem and some bombs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then they are there. You don't do super well in close combat. For some reason, Thunderers do a bunch of mortal wounds at the end of combat, but whatever. Now, if you pull in Gotrek, or he's just an inch away to countercharge on his turn, suddenly your boat being unable to your boat being stuck in combat or charge or something like that is just, but my counterpunch is right there. So Gotrek's a fun unit. I wouldn't write off, yes, there's Gotrek, it's narrative. There's bite there.
Oh, there is.
There is. The narrative
So-
is still KO based. It's still
So-
KO driven.
I look at this and I just imagine Ashley as like a hunter, okay? She's got her bird dog Gotrek to herd the entire enemy army around and her kill boat to kill them all.
And that's the other problem that KO usually has, right? Is controlling objectives. Well, Gotrek's one big thing is he picks an objective or a space between 2 objectives and says, these are both mine.
Mhm. So yeah,
And
no,
guess what? She might put them away from the boats into the meat grinder.
yeah, no, look at it like a loaded ironclad and Gotrek. I don't know which one I want to look at. I no, glad I'm brought shooting this GT.
Just take
So-
away his board.
Those are
Right.
what 3 damage shots to take down Gotrek. So you only need still 8 of those because he's only taking damage 1, right?
Because he's only
Yeah.
taking damage 1, yes.
So if I spend 4 rounds of shooting him, maybe on average I kill Gotrek.
And that's if he misses his 3-up save and his 3-up ward.
Right. And the heroic recovery, because you know I ain't getting next to the boy.
He is a hero without being a leader.
Right.
Pretty
So
good
next,
building.
next KO list. There is an issue with this list, so we need to get a hold of Joey. These 15 Thunderers are not battle line. So there needs to be 10 Thunders, or we need to change our command trait on the Admiral.
That way they can be battle line, and therefore
Yeah.
we can run.
Yeah, but we're seeing kind of a similar list here. 20 Arcanauts. Those are dudes that stand on circles, and also you got to get to the minimum number of battle line.
Mhm.
Gun haulers are nice, fun little boaty boys. Navigators, chemists. I don't know why this chemist does so much damage. Have you guys never had a chemist roll less than like 12 shots against you?
I've never had a chemist get into combat with me.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
shooting profile.
Or
It's
shoot
3D.
me.
It's 3d6 shots, Eli.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
never had
Joe
a chemist
saying that
shoot me.
3d6 on average should be like what 10 and a half, except for
Right.
somehow for chemists it's like 15 and a half.
Yeah, no, I've had these chemists like a dumpster a dragon before, and I just want to know what reality I'm living in.
I think
will admit
James
I've never
one
had a chemist
time
shoot
fired
me.
at me and only got 6 shots, and we were both perplexed.
Right. Yeah, so Endin Ringers, love those guys. I
Yeah.
believe those are the fixie boat guys, plus also not bad in shooting.
Oh, they slap in shooting and they slap in combat.
Yeah,
They're just
They're
fragile.
not as like
only
they're not
weakness.
as like super strong in shooting as the Thunderers are,
Yeah.
but they're pretty good.
there are a few things as strong as Thunderers in shooting.
It's very true.
All right. We'll jump down to JT. We got an Admiral, a Navigator, an Engine Master, 2 Sky Wardens, 2 units, 6 Sky Wardens, a unit of 6 Engine Riggers, 3 frigates. So Sky Wardens are the very good melee.
Yes,
Yes, right?
the good melee balloon boys.
Yeah. 6 Engine Riggers, so kind of an all-round. I've seen these Engine Riggers perform pretty consistently in every list that I've played against them. So 6 of them tells me this will be pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean
So-
JT is trying to do a melee combat focused list. The subfaction gives all the Sky Wardens and the Engine Riggers +1 to hit in wound rolls if they made a charge.
And because of the disembark and charge rules, they'll be able to do that after they get out of a boat,
Yep.
or they can just fight from inside the boat after it charges. The
Yeah,
big
it's-
thing to be aware of with this list, and I'm sure JTJ already knows this, is that the number of boots on the ground he can have is pretty small. Though, and the number of wounds they have is even smaller. Well, I
Mhm.
guess it's twice as many, but still, that's the problem, right? All those balloon guys are 2 wounds on a 4-up save, right? Or are they 3-up save now?
No 4-up. Thunderers have the
Okay.
3-up save.
Yeah. So they are fragile units that he needs to protect, that he also has to get into combat, which is always the challenge with the balloon units, is that to do what they need to do, they need to put themselves into a dangerous spot. And while it's a very impressive alpha strike and it can get a lot of damage in, if he gets a double turn, he's probably home free.
Yeah.
The
But
KO's special.
yeah, if he gets hit back, that's a bit of a glass jaw to come into. That said, I believe I see 3 frigates here, and that
Yeah.
is not quite as fragile.
No, those frigates are pretty good.
And they also count as 5 models for objectives? I know ironclads do now. I don't know
I
if frigates do.
Don't believe frigates do. I am checking right now.
Because
For
that's a
15 wounds on a 3-up save.
yeah,
And
and they used to also be a 4-up save, I think. So now they're 3.
yeah, I don't see anything about contesting for extra model. Oh, yep, nope, here it is. This unit counts as 5 models.
Nice.
Full works of iron.
So we've effectively got 5 monsters basically that can contest objectives after all the balloons die. So that is not as big a vulnerability as it originally seemed, because we now have 3 fairly durable, defensible units that can move around. So
Yeah.
even after he loses the core of his damage, because if I remember correctly, frigates are not that scary as an output. He's still got his dedicated transports basically turn into his contesting units.
You're okay if JT took the heavy sky cannon, which he did, then he's really good against monsters.
Yeah.
6 damage attack.
Right.
With
all
2
4 of
men.
these KO lists are rocking the same grand strat. Have something that carries dudes or is a boat and no monsters that can fly or behemoths that can fly. That's important.
Mhm.
So
Behemoths.
that's a really good grand strat.
It is, and paired with KO's really good battle tactics that have very little interaction. On top of their damage output, it's just a really good army right now.
Yeah. So if you're playing against these KOs armies, be really careful. If you see them not deploying on objectives, that's them trying to set up an easy turn 1 battle tactic. Because they have to have less than your opponent, and then have more
Yep.
than, I believe. It's like glass to something.
And I want to draw attention to the fact that only 2 of these lists are 1-drop. KO typically wants to really determine the turn order and be sure that they kind of like play for the double and really kill you early before you can actually hit them. But only 2 of these lists have the ability to actually like determine it.
Yeah. So Mark Johnson, our last KO player, Admiral Navigator, Code Right,
Hell yeah.
Endrin Master with the dirigible suit, really fun word there. A regular Endrin Master, 2 times 6 Endrin Riggers and 3 Endrin Riggers, plus 2 frigates and a gun hauler. So
this is a KO list I love.
Right?
This looks very similar in a lot of ways to JTJ's list, but broken down into smaller units with more heroes.
Yes.
It looks like just trading really one unit of engine riggers and a frigate for a gun hero and some extra support heroes.
Mhm.
Yep. Makes sense. Frigates are 300 points apiece. You can fit a lot in for 300.
And for
Yeah.
what it's worth, while JTJ is not a 1-drop army, 3 drops is still less than more than half the armies, if I remember correctly, Spencer.
Thereabouts.
So he's still
Thereabouts.
controlling priority more than half the time.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we do have a chart that we'll show at the end of this that'll show all the drops and percentages.
All right. So
And
that
it's really only
covers.
3 drops because of the. So yeah, that makes. Sorry,
Yeah.
Joe. Go ahead.
So yeah, that's going to cover KO. A really powerful list here. Watch yourselves. These things are going to get you if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
So down to our single Lumineth, Jack Johnson in Ymetrica playing the Cowboys. He's got Stone Mage, Sad Elf, Avalanor, Enlightener, Lore Seeker, 2x5 Stone Guard, 1 block of 10 Stone Guard, 5 Blade Lords. He's got a Battle Cattle and the Shrine.
Having a religious experience
mean-
because there's one word you did not say.
Yeah.
There's no tech list in this list.
I mean, there is a no tech list, and for some people, that's a good thing. For me, that's a bad thing. I love tech lists. I love magic. I love making people mad.
that is because you are a terrorist. But I also love
And
magic, and I
let's
bring
not forget the
crap.
part where this guy also has 5 Judicators in his list. Not that we've gotten there yet. So he
Right.
also might just shoot Techless dead.
Right. Techless is not a victim. So yeah, no.
No,
This is a great
he's a
list.
terrorist. That's why I'm glad he's not here.
So this is a great list. A lot of fun. He's got cow dudes. They're ignoring Rend, Enlightener. So we got what, 1, 2, 2 deep thinkers in the list. Just the Enlightener and the Lore Seeker, right?
The Sad Elf, the Cathalar, I believe, also has.
Okay, Cathalar is also a deep thinker.
I believe so.
All right. So Stone Mage is going to let these cows fight at the best bracket because doing lots of damage is what the cows want to do. He's got 2 cows. He's got the named cow and the regular cow. Those guys are awesome. 20 Stone Guard. Those are pretty good in melee. I've had some bad experiences like running into them. So, I like them as battle line. I think they're great. 5 Blade Lords because they're going to look at your hero and be like, mortal wounds. Or
Also
anything,
bodyguard
really.
for the heroes, right?
Yeah.
The bodyguard.
Yeah.
So then they're just great at protecting the.
We got a Lore Seeker there because okay, all right. Does this Lore Seeker know Blizzard?
Let's find out. I think it does.
He has 3 blizzards.
I'd
He has
be surprised
3
if he
blizzards.
doesn't. Yeah. This is
Okay.
a guy who deploys 3 inches away from you and says, so I'm going first.
Okay, yeah. So here we go, and I think we just had.
kidding, it's a 10-drop list. He does not control
I
that
was
at
gonna
all.
say, yeah, he does not go first.
Okay, I think did they not just say that like you could deep thinkers and then throw primal dice to like cast
Yes.
Blizzard?
Yes, you can. You can use your deep thinkers and then use primal dice to add on to it.
Okay, so
But those are the only modification. That's the only modification I believe you can have onto it.
okay,
Unless they
cool.
remove the can't be modified part out of it specifically,
Hmm.
which they might have in the errata. But they reworded it and then clarified in the FAQ that yes, you can add.
Okay, so watch out for this Lore Seeker. If for some reason he's going before you, and this Lore Seeker is next to things that you like alive, there could be a problem with what's about to happen in that hero phase. So yeah, no, you'll love to see it. Thank God it's in the 10-drop.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a mental threat here. Like what you're gonna do?
My
gonna let me
suspicion
have
is
it.
that those Blade Lords are there to protect the Lore Seeker so that he can get into range to do that trick. But yeah, still threatening that that turn 1 alpha strike if he has control over it somehow.
Also, I love the Enlightener. I don't think we've seen enough of this hero. I think she's really cool. She can just be like, 2 spells.
It's also a cool model.
Yeah.
I really like it. I like as far as like model design goes, a lot of the little videos are just very well done, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
It's just
Points in
very
Lumineth are
bad.
tight, and usually Techless is eating most of them.
Yes.
So, all right. Hopefully, 4th edition will fix this army.
Right,
So
by adding
All
Tyrion,
right.
right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All for it.
I can take Teclis and Tyrion.
We
All
good
right.
for next page?
Yep. All right. Lizard dudes. Talk about lizards.
Do you want me to talk about lizards?
Yeah, talk about lizards.
All right, so here's the deal. There's one dude here with the big brain and decided that spellcasting was good, and there are others who are chads and real men and decided that real flesh blood lizards were the way to go. I'm gonna save the big brain dude for last because of me and talk and gas up all these other dudes. So first off, I got my bud Andrew Fournette, who's taking a bit of a dip out of Sigmar. He's ready to come back, rocking the Thunder Lizard, letting his monsters have 2 monstrous rampages on top of having that good old scaly skin that stuck around in the new book, -1 damage on all his Saurus, Croxagore monsters. And anytime he rolls a bite roll to do mortal wounds on some of the Saurus units, gets +1 on those rolls. It's a 5-up, baby, not a 6-up. Talking specifically about what he's got an Astrolith Bear, kind of an auto take at this point. 6-up ward for units wholly within 12. Pretty sweet when we lost our mystical terrain. And +1 to cast, which is great because he brought Croak. Doesn't have regular Croak. It doesn't have regular Slan, but he's got a Croak. He's got Old Blood on Carnosaur, which I love. Carnosaur is a sweet model. Got a nice glow up. Extra rend on its claws and jaws. Does a lot of damage when it's the general. Has the Blade of Realities on it. Super sweet. Stars here also got a fantastic glow up for a little hero. Casts 2 spells now. Has a War Scroll spell to do to take away your ward. And for good measure, this one doesn't have Blizzard. I just wanted y'all to think about it. This Star Priest has this Star Seer has did not take Blizzard. But I'm joking to you again. It's a Shaman of Chilllands. He's a general. So he knows all the spells. So he's gonna take away your ward, and then he's gonna then we got the Star Priest, who has Heavenly Frenzy to make all these Saurus run and charge, and also to apply a nice little debuff spell. 2x10 skinks, 10 Saurus guard that are pretty slappy, also protect the heroes. 2 Arcs of Sotek that are going to run up the board, have a constant 2-up save, hopefully roll a bunch of mortal wounds, and also just sit. Then he's got Hunters of Huan Chi, which are going to deep strike, shooty chameleon skinks, get yourself a nice battle tactic, pretty sweet. Spellcasting Savant because the Starseer is the general. 2 drops.
Nice.
Pretty sweet.
Right.
After that, we got Dylan Reiger with Kotal's Claw, meaning every Saurus that charges is +1 to wound roll for that combat. Pretty sweet when you're running a bunch of Saurus. He's got a Scarvet on Agrodon, which is great because he's got not 3, not 6, but 12 Agrodon Lancers that want to go in, get stuck, and hopefully have just a bunch of extra attacks to do things with.
Mm-hmm.
Agrodon Lancers are the heavy cav now, replacing the Saurus Knights of old. They move in. That 6-man coherency really helped them a lot. They could just string out one line, ram in with all those Lancers. For the rest of the heroes, we got the Stars here for the same reasons that we saw before, except I do not think that Dylan is making him the general. Nope, just has Hoarfrost on the Stars here. General is going to be the Astrolith Bear, so he has Vengeful Defender. Make a couple units move in the hero phase, as long as they're wholly within 12. Make it Arcane Tome, so it's a wizard. Makes sense. He's doing Magical Savant, which I think it's supposed to be the spellcasting Savant. He wants to keep the Astrolith Bear alive for his general.
Mm-hmm.
Got the Star Priest again for Heavenly Frenzy. Run and charge is really good when you be running and charging. A 20 block of Saurus Warriors. It's going to hold an objective. It sits on objective. It's got 3-up save. Really hard to move. 2 wounds apiece. 2x5 Vanguard Hunters. Nice ally tech in from Stormcast that's going to help them achieve some battle tactics because I believe their teleports on their War Scroll.
Yes.
Right, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's an easy turn 1 surround and destroy it. Just boom, go for it. And then taking Pendulum and Graved Hide. We love ourselves some endless spells here. At least I very much do. Some great picks. Graved Hide, great in Horde. Pendulum just goes and cleaves. Love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
4 drops though. I think Seraphon wants to play low drops now, which is not kind of what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
4 drops is kind of on the higher end of where you want to see.
Yeah.
Unless you're taking Acolyte Battalion, and then you don't care. You just take all the drops. Skipping me to go to talk about the other Kotal's Claw list from Sons of Slambo, Juan Delgado, who's rocking 2 Starseers. Love to see it. Diet, cheap points to be able to get some extra, get free forecast for like way cheaper than about what you get for a Slan. The problem is on the list, I do not see spells that they took, and it's kind of important that you have those spells. So, Juan, we need you to pick your spells. Scarvet on Agrodon for the same reason we saw it with Dylan. He's running a bunch of Agrodon Lancers, 6 block and 2x3 blocks, so also 12, 20 warriors, 10 more warriors, and then 2 spawns of Chotek to shoot and hopefully apply -1 to save debuffs. Except his grand strategy is repel corruption. Just wants people far away. Get away from the center of the board, I believe. I have to look. It's a book. It's a book grand strat. I don't use those. But those are all coalesced lists. So like I mentioned earlier, we got the scaly skin. We got the bites being a little bit better. The Realm Shaper engine in coalesce, in fact, makes those bites a 4-up as long as they're close to the pyramid. And makes those monsters fight at top bracket. Pretty sweet. Then you got the mean person over here in me, who's running the Starborn, cast all the spells, do all the mortal wounds, and hope you stay away from me. To quick rundown of my list, I've got the Ashlith Bearer because they're just super relevant. Troglodon, because I'm going to teleport that Troglodon and hope send some magic through it, or just have an anchor there that's hard to kill. I got Croak. We got what we nicknamed Diet Croak, which is just a slant. That's the general. Stars here, 2x10 skinks, 2x5 Raptidon Chargers, who are the truth, the way, the truth, and the life. Love them. Just make sure they hit first, not get hit first. 5 Saurus Guard. Then I take Maelstrom, Gravetide, and Pendulum as my 3 endless spells because more mortals. Big thing with Seraphon Starborn specifically is that they want to cast a lot of spells, generate summoning points for them, and then do a bunch of mortals or summon a bunch of bodies. Really one of the two there. Get a teleport in the hero phase, get extra summoning points if my general successfully cast spells, and try to keep my slant alive. Hopefully do some battle tactics. And Fangs of Sotek lets me redeploy 3 times. It's pretty good. The first 2 times they go on Skinks there.
Yeah. That has messed me up in the past.
It is wild what 3 redeploys does to mess up move. There's your super quick rundown of Seraphon, as I did not want to take up a lot of time.
Yeah, no. I love to see God. Words. Coalesced, is that the melee ones?
Coalesced is the melee ones.
Yay, more Coalesced, less Starborn. God, I hate Starborn. Alright, so
But I love you, Joe.
I love you too. I hate the things
It's an
you play.
embrace. I'm sorry.
It's
It's fun
okay.
to cast magic. It's okay. I'll miscast like 6 times this tournament anyway.
Alright, so Stormcast, Golden Boys, big faction here. You're gonna see a lot of Stormcast whenever something about that army gets buffed. And recently we got a really easy battle tactic, and I think a lot of people are kind of accepting the dynamic changes in the way we play Stormcast. A lot of Annihilators. So
One of the interesting things about Stormcast is that it is a very large book with a lot of different pieces in it and a bunch of different play styles that fall out of it. So while for a lot of these armies we can say here's their general plan and here's the general thing we see with this army, Stormcast is going to end up being a lot more list by list. Sorry, back to you, Joe.
all right, so let's start off with Alex Maul, Knights Excelsior. That is the Paladin subfaction. Annihilators are Paladins. If they're outnumbered, at the start of the combat phase, if they're outnumbered, you can basically give them +1 to hit and wound. So Imperitant's going to let Thunderstrike units deep strike within 7 instead of 9. He also issues a command for free each turn, which is really invaluable. So love that. Incantor has an auto unbind. You're going to see a lot of like spellcasting savant, Shaman of the Chilled Land, and Cantors. That's really popular right now. Some people are also slapping Mirror Shield on them to make them unshootable. So 3x3 Grand Hammers. These are a scalpel unit. They're going to come in 7 inches away, ideally, scalpel out an important target, hopefully end the turn unengaged, which forces your opponent to then on their turn commit something to answering them, because Grand Hammers are soft. 9 wounds on a 3-up is not much, and you're not going to see a lot of Hammers of Sigmar right now for some reason. So, no word safe. Questors, relatively new. I like them. 3 wounds each, 3-up save, once per game they have a teleport. Really good attack profile, 3s and 3s, Rend 1, 2 damage, 3 attacks a model. They also count as 3 models when contesting objectives outside of our deployment zone. Stormcast has a really hard time controlling objectives. 3 Annihilators can come in and do 20 damage, but still only count as 1 dude each. So against zombies, they just lose that fight. So Chariots, they're fast. They are a pinning unit, -1 to hit when they charge. They have impact mortals. They rarely do damage in melee, but sometimes they do, and that's awesome. Reinforced unit of Tempesters. Really good shooting platform. Each hit that they make counts as 2 hits. So you could get a lot of shots out of these Tempesters, plus the mortal wound shooting from the Draken if they're on. They also 6 wounds each, 3 up or 5 wounds each, 3 up save. So pretty beefy boys to deal with. And then you got 2 dragons. And 2 dragons are gonna come in, do some decent amount of damage. Not dead Gargant damage, but crippled unit, cleared screen kind of damage, which is what you need to see sometimes. So down to Shelling. Shelling's playing the sauce. 5 Vexilers, which are pointed a part of the map in the hero phase, 24 inches away. Everything there is going to take mortal wounds. You'll love to see it. Imperatant, you're going to see a lot of this guy right now because we got Annihilators, baby! So we got 15 shield Annihilators. So 9 wounds on a 2-up save. 3s and 3s, Rend 1, 2 damage. So a pretty okay melee profile. They're basically have like hero profiles. You got 1 unit of 6 Grand Hammers. So where the list before had 3 Scalpels, he has 1 Sludge Hammer. So this is going to come in and absolutely delete a thing. And this is going to delete most things in the game.
Or embarrassingly fail a 7-inch rerollable charge. One of the two.
And then die, and then we can all point and laugh at Shelling for wasting 400 points. And Everblaze Comet, this thing is absolutely backbreaking and does tremendous amounts of psychological damage. 36-inch cast range, has a 10-inch impact, and you roll a dice. On a 1, you take a mortal wound. On a 2 to 5, you take a D3. On a 6, you take a D6 mortal wounds. He's going to want to cast this thing every turn, and then on his opponent's hero phase, unbind it, and on his turn, recast it. Spellcasting Savant, 2 drops. God, I hope you're a 1-drop. But keep in mind that those Vexilers do their thing in the hero phase, so you can counter deploy it if you are playing a higher drop list. Do not be a dummy and put all of your stuff next to each other. That's how you lose the game. So we'll drop down to David Rodriguez playing Astral Templars, my personal go-to when it comes to subfactions. Karazai, Battle Mage. This is a Haish Battle Mage, -1 to hit. Incantor. Nice. Yeah. So he's doing kind of what I was doing last year with buff the Karazai. Karazai goes kill stuff. 2 units of 5 Vanguard Hunters. Stormcast really wants these guys if we want to do battle tactics. Astral Templars, their battle line. 5 Libs because they're rock hard and they stand next to heroes. 4 Tempesters because good shooting and pretty hard to deal with. Once they get in melee, they're not awful in melee either. 3 Praetors are going to try and follow Karazai around. He can spend a command point to auto-run these guys out of the deployment zone. Most 22-inch battle maps are going to give Karazai enough room to move up, make a charge, and get into melee with anything that's towing the line. And these Praetors will have enough movement to get within range to bodyguard him. He's got a unit of Draco Lions. These guys, not a ton of damage in melee. They're not bad. If they go into softer targets, they're going to do some good damage. but each Thundercat is going to roll 3 dice, and on a 4-up, they do a mortal wound after they fight. So he's going to sling 9 dice and do 4 to 5 mortal wounds on average after a combat, and that adds up very quickly. Spellcasting Savant, you're going to see a lot of this in Stormcast. So down to me, 5 Knight Judicators and a Turalon, 2 5-man units of Vanguard Hunters, 5 Vindicators, 3 Chariots, Everblaze Comet.
Rude.
So Knight Judicators, they can kind of do what Knight Vexilers do. Instead of an automatic D3, it's a 4-up D3. But I do my Mortal Wound Bomb in the shooting phase. So I can deploy my Knight Judicators in the sky to protect them against Alpha Strikes, bring them down, and then do the Mortal Wound Bomb. Or I can just shoot you. They're 2 attacks, 3s, 2s, Ren 3, damage 3. So the Turalon is going to follow them around. After he moves, he pulses out a +1 to hit aura. So that's going to put all 5 Knight Judicators on 2s and 2s. He's going to be casting Everblaze Comet for immense psychological damage. Each one of these Knight Judicators makes 4 wounds worth of dogs. So I put down 5 Knight Judicators, I get free 20 wounds. If you deep strike or summon within 12 inches of those dogs, they scream, and then the Knight Judicators shoot the thing that you just summoned or deep struck in. Out of phase shooting with Knight Judicators at 3 damage apiece is a lot of damage. So don't do that near the dogs, and you'll be pretty okay. Respect my bubble. Chariots, they're there to pin and do mortal wounds. I should be able to, against Gargants, 0.5 Knight Judicators and 3 Chariots at it and kill a Gargant around. I really want that juicy double turn because I'm a 2-drop, baby. I picked Slaughter of Sorcery. That's because I figured I should handicap myself, and I either win it or I lose it. This is a self-moderating tool right here. I could have picked anything else.
Anything else? You literally could have picked anything else. You could have picked a different hero in your.
Yeah, I could have picked a whole different list.
Ooh, look at that.
Okay,
Joe.
okay. So
cool. A lot of cool words for a flavorless list.
Let's take a moment. I wanted to play this list when the book came out, and here we are over a year later, and this list has dropped over 260 points. So I'm in it to win it.
Yeah, I think last time we saw you play this was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was
Smash and Dash.
Yeah, and it was 4 Knight Judicators.
Yeah,
because I couldn't swing the points. So we'll drop down to Josh. He's in Knights Excelsior as well. He's got Prime Time, Arcanum on Griff Charger, Imperatant, Relictor, Reinforced Unit of Grandhammers, Unit of Shield Annihilators, 10 block of Vindictors, which is rare to see.
But hard to remove.
Yes, 5 Praetors, 3 Long Strikes. So Prime Time, he's going to sit in the sky, he's going to come down, he's going to say, I make a 12-inch charge, and do a bunch of damage. Lord Arcanum on Griff Charger has Shaman of the Chilled Lands, I believe, and he's going to teleport around the map, complete objectives, and act as if you get too close, you're going to get shot in the face with a blizzard. Imperatant, 6-inch deep strike because we have Annihilators. Relictor for the auto unbind. 7 Grand Hammers because that one thing needs to die, and this is how you do it. 3 Shield Annihilators because they're 115 points for some reason. 10 Vindictors because 20 wounds on a... Yeah, right? 10 Vindictors are 20 wounds on a 3-up save. That's excellent. 5 Protectors are on a 2-up save. 15 wounds. Really good. He is going to need to utilize the Imperatant to get them where they... No, he can't Imperatant. They're not Thunderstrike.
They're not Thunderstrike, yeah.
These are just going to have to raw dog a 9-inch charge because you don't put Protectors on the board.
No. But that's okay. He can command point at least when his Annihilators use it.
So yeah, good list. Long strike steal damage from a long ways away. It's in the name.
Yes. They got big crossbows that aim right at your hero.
Yeah.
Except for when a little dude gets in the way and says, no,
No, sir.
no, sir,
right.
not anymore.
So we'll drop down to 1. Hammer's a Sigmar, so he's going to get a ward if he's wholly within 12 of an objective. This battle pack has a lot of objectives, which means we finally get our just blanket 6-up ward the army should have. So, Knight Zephyros, this is a teleporting anywhere you want hero. I don't think it has Luckstone on it, so you are missing that that need a little interaction for lead into the Maelstrom. But great hero for doing battle tactics. She's 100 points. Incantor, Arcanum on Griff Charger. Hey, that's shown up again. Imperatant. So you're seeing a lot in common with Stormcast list right now. 4 Tempesters, shooting. 2x5 Vindictors. 2x3 Grand Hammers. Chariot, Vanguard Hunters, Vigilers. Weird pick for this Vigilers here. But if those do a point of damage, kind of like Blissbarb Seekers, they'll do a thing. Their thing is +1 to hit for Stormcast models so that's a really good way to get a free all-out of attack for a couple different units. So I look at his list and I'm like, he wants to teleport around, he wants to scalpel dudes out, and he wants a 6-up ward because that's really good to have. So
Generically nice, yes.
yeah. So yeah, I think we have one more Stormcast list, but we need to get to the next page.
No.
Are we at a Storm? Oh,
Yeah,
is
it?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's 6 on here. Were there 7 lists? I could not remember if there were 6 or 7. Either way.
Chairgrot, take us to the next page. Boom, Sylvaneth. Matt, you play Sylvaneth. Do you have the time to talk about the trees?
Yes, I will do a quick rundown on Sylvaneth, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to drop off for the rest of the call, but I should at least be able to finish an army I play.
Okay.
So we've got basically Sylvaneth is a army that is very rich in allegiance abilities, but very expensive models. They tend to have some pretty good armor saves and be pretty durable and have a lot of ways to recover health. And even have some ways to recover some of their lost models. But any unit they lose is gone, and they can't really get it back unless her name's Alariel. The common theme you're going to see is very heavy use of Strike and Fade, which is the ability to, on their own turn, after they've attacked, they can immediately leave and teleport from a tree they're near to a tree that is on the other side of the table, potentially. So a good way to get in damage in the combat phase without taking any reprisal back. They also have strong movement abilities, so despite their low move speeds, they tend to be surprisingly good at getting where you expect them least and where you need them to not be. There's 2 different sub-factions we're seeing in the list here. Heartwood, which is usually very heavy on Kurnoth Hunters because it makes them battle line, and Oakenbrow, which is usually very heavy in Tree Lords because it makes them battle line. Heartwood, pick 3 units at the start of the game. You'll be +1 to hit against them with everything for the whole game. Oakenbrow also means that your Tree Lords don't bracket until they have a single wound left, where they go down to their second profile. Actually really cool. So let's start going through, and I'm going to do them by sub-faction rather than alphabetical. So Andrew Davis, we've got an Oakenbrow list, so Tree Lord heavy. We've got Drycha, she doesn't bracket at all, so no problems there. Warsong Revenant, so that is the that's a caster who can do the Mortal Wound Bomb through a Wildwood if they have Spell Singer. I don't see whether this is a Spell Singer or War Singer list, but I'm guessing Spell Singer. Usually Andrew Davis.
All right, I'll take a look for you.
I see a Branch Witch and a War Song, which means it's 1 drop, so he didn't actually go for the bonus Primal Dice Battalion. But we've got 2 different sources of a potential spell bomb. It doesn't scale with bonuses to cast, but it is still just whatever the casting roll is. You get that many dice on 5s. You cause mortal wounds to everything nearby you. 2 units of Retreat Revenants, teleport around, do stuff, claim objectives. A unit of 10 Dryads, counts as a battle line and screens. And then a Spite Swarm Hive and Jaws, Ravnax Dashing Nom Nom Teeth for endless spells. So we've got, like I said, 2 Tree Lords, no Durthu and no Tree Lord Ancient. So we're just taking Oakenbrow, and we've actually got enough battle line that we don't need the Tree Lords to be battle line. So this is letting them shift from a monster slot to a troop slot to fill out the single drop battle regiment, but it's not actually the fact that their battle line isn't super relevant here. Spellcasting Savant means that the general needs to survive. I'm sure that's the Warsong Revenant. Drycha is a War Master. Cool. This looks like the general idea is there's a lot of movement. Tree Lords get their own teleport in addition to Sylvaneth's normal teleports. So movement, moderately durable, and just trying to hit things with big trees. And Drycha is an amazing gun platform.
All right, Matt, just to update you, Andrew is a spell singer.
Thought so. Okay. So that'll be cast a tree out and then bomb from it, or cast Tree Song from it for an additional rend. One of the issues Tree Lords tend to have is that they only have one rend on most of their attacks. Getting that up to rend 2 is a big deal. The other big issue they have is that they are not elite or totems for reasons that Milo and I have expounded several times should be a thing. Anyway, so need to make sure that there's someone nearby to issue them commands. Going over to Jody's list, Jody is also running an Oakenbrow list, and I've talked to him a few times. I think he mentioned that playing against my Sylvaneth had been part of what had inspired him to go from thinking about playing the army to saying, actually, that looks like a lot of fun, and it seems like he's enjoyed it. So I'm glad to hear that. Looking at over here, Oakenbrow with Durthu, Tree Lord Ancient, and 2 Tree Lords. So 4 models that will not take any loss to their damage until they're on their very last wound. And Durthu, canonically, the biggest answers get him down to his second bracket, right? Because he goes from 6 damage to D6. That doesn't work in Oakenbrow. He kind of just is 6 damage. He just does Durthu things. What else have we got? We've got a Branch Witch, 2 units of True Revenants to steal objectives. Go Trek. All right. So this is Big Stompy Monsters Sylvaneth edition, straight up. We got Tree Lords. We got the March of the Ents, and guest starring Gimli.
Yes, guest starring Gimli.
Overshadow, given the way this list is designed as big stompy monsters with heavy armor and resistance to bracketing, we have this is going to be I kill all your battle line, and 2 units of Tree Revenants are really easy to hide. They can teleport around the board to get away from things. 2 units of Tree Lords are big enough that they can take a punch. So that makes sense to me. Goal is going to be Durthu strikes and fades and never gets hit back because he needs to do a lot of the damage here. Gotrek supplements that very well. So that takes us over to the 2 Heartwood lists, which I'm expecting to be very heavy on Kurnoth Hunters, possibly some Revenant Seekers in order to bring those Kurnoth Hunters back and get some recursion added to us. We've got Ben Riddle bringing a Arch Revenant, Branch Witch, Lady of Vines, 6 Kurnoth Scythes, 6 Great Swords, 5 Tree Revenants, 6 Revenant Seekers. Grand Strat is Spellcasting Savant, so that means we probably have the Arch Revenant with a Arcane Tome as the general then, which I would also assume makes him a War Singer, because as cool as it is to cast Mystic Shield through trees, that's what's going on here. Am I correct, Eli?
For it, yeah, pretty much.
All right. So goal here is that Arch Revenant provides a lot of buffs to Kurnoth Hunters, gets them an extra 3 inches of movement, gives them +1 to wound, has a command ability at 18 inches to give them +1 attack. Lot of support there already, and also cast Mystic Shield, because what do you need when you have 3-up save is another save. There's that big unit of Revenant Seekers I was kind of calling as probably around. And then Lady of Vines gives a 5-up ward bubble. So what you're seeing here is this is a kind of an endurance fight. There's a lot of durability, a lot of recursion. I'll be surprised if he doesn't have either Regrowth or Virtuous Harmony somewhere in that list as a spell. Just in order. There you go. Sticking to the plan of, unless you kill this unit dead, and it's probably a 2-up save with Mystic Shield and 30 wounds and a 5-up ward. So very hard to do that. It is bringing back potentially 2 or 3 models a turn. If you get lucky with a rally on top of that, who knows? Speaking of which, Revenant Seekers rally on a 5-up. So none of it dies easy.
Not at all. A bunch of big 6 blocks that are going to go in and do a bunch of damage. And if they either move off to an objective, like you said, or they stick around, they hurt a little bit longer.
And our last Sylvaneth list is another Heartwood list. Patrick Billups running a Arch Revenant, Alariel, 2 units of Great Bows, a unit of Tree Revenants, 2 units of 3 Seekers, a Suffocating Gravetide, and Spellcasting Savant means that the Arch Revenant is, of course, the general, and Alariel is a War Master as well. Just kidding. No, she's not. I don't understand why.
Sadly, no.
Why is Alariel not a War Master? I don't know. That's much like the Tree Lords not being elite. We don't understand. But I don't write the rules. I just complain about them.
Yes.
This list is not exactly what I've run for Heartwood, but it is very similar. And seeing how many points cost Sylvaneth has gotten, I understand why a similar drive would end up in a different spot. This is very MSU plus Alariel. There's no big giant anvil. So where Ben's list is 3 big bricks of if you ever kill one of these, I'm really gonna feel it, but I don't think you can. This strategy is I'm okay to lose some of these blocks of 3, but you will actually kill some of these blocks of 3. Alariel also coming back the first time she dies means that this feels like this is a much more focused on using its mobility to force trades that work favorably while trying to control the board, where Ben's list looks like it's designed to grind you out.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment for the difference.
All right, guys, I love to see 4 Sylvaneth lists here. I'm looking forward to how y'all do and hearing back on it. Unfortunately, I do have to call it here and step out. Gentlemen, thank you for having me, and everybody on the stream, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you being
Matt.
on, Matt.
Have a good one.
One little amendment to our Sylvaneth section right here. Andrew Davis does have a Durthu in his list, and it is a 2-drop. I messed that up when I was putting this stuff in. Real sorry
Okay.
about that, Andrew.
That makes way more sense. I felt like that first Oakenbrow list was missing a big heavy hammer and looked a little light.
No.
That is, I think I even called out I'm surprised there's no Durthu or Tree Lord Ancient there. That makes more sense.
Yeah, that was my list transcribing. My boo-boo transcribing it.
No problem. Okay, that makes more sense, and I highly approve. I highly approve that list having a Durthu in it. That felt like the missing piece. All right,
Matt.
gentlemen, have a good one.
Take care, Matt.
You too.
All right, so Spencer, we got top pick for lists.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Yeah. So, we are all
We look amazing.
all jumbled.
It's cool.
So, Zach Kennedy's Big Wah, I think, I would say the combination of an army that has access to good, relatively easy battle tactics, as well as a very durable force, combined with the pilot, big wrinkly brain Zach. I think it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I've got him for top pick for me.
Yeah. So I went with Kel's Spooky Ghost lists. This dude knows what he's doing. He's piloted that Myrmidon list very successfully in the past, and switching to like MSU kind of Ghost plus Oleander, I think, is a great way to capitalize on what that list does and still kind of keep it competitive in the current meta.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt chose Brian Lofton's Cornucopia. That's my name for it. Congratulations, Brian. You have a cute nickname for your army. I think it's a combination of the big block that he has that's going to be really fun to watch, kind of toy around on the battlefield, and because Matt didn't want to pick Jeff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Eli.
one I was told to pick my favorite list, not the list I thought was going to win the whole thing. But luckily, I also do feel that Nathan is going to do really well.
Mhm.
And I just really like rats and want to see them do well. I like what I don't think they're that bad in the meta right now, and I think the list that Nathan's trying to do is going to catch some people by surprise and do really well.
Yes.
Look, teleporting a rat and then throwing a warp lightning vortex and then having a come in and hit you is gonna make you feel things.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, we're finishing up here. I just want to say thank you all very much for joining us and going on this journey with us for the past 3 hours. The intent was to be a little bit faster. I think ultimately what happened is it's the same amount of time. We just were able to get through lists without having to rush through, the back half,
Mhm.
just the last couple. Also, a big shout out to Very Salty, Badgering Lion, Bullshit Bandit, Alex the Great, Commander Man, Vince B, Scar, Queen Nyrene, and Sual TX. Thank y'all very much for the follows. We did not have alerts up. Apologies for that, but it's great to have y'all here with us. Yeah.
So to jump on Randy's comment there, we have a Dragon's Lair tournament tomorrow that we only have 6 people signed up. So locally, if you're looking for something to do or to get some games in prep for Slambo, so sign up for that tournament. I'm sure they would not appreciate a few more people popping in.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, let's hit the next slide and close out. Again, thank y'all for joining us. We very much appreciate it. I think we do have a Grot in the chair that would like to make some nice little comments.
Lexi, do you know what they're playing?
Five Demon Princes and a Be'lakor.
Because what's more Halloweeny than demon?
Spiders.
And, yeah, you say
Spiders.
the creepy crawlies.
So
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, please. We'll see you Tuesday evening. Additionally, we will see y'all at Slambo next weekend, and we will have a wrap-up show the following week just to kind of recap everything, talk about how it went. So, love to see y'all there. Until next time, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your night, and may all your dice rolls be 6s. Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Peace.